Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 90th episode of Sports Goofs. We're getting there. We're a few away from 100. Freddie's on, Charles is on, Andrew is on, and I, Francisco, am on. What's up, guys?
90 episodes. We're going to outlive Betty White, I think. She's immortal, but good on us.
Yeah. Oh, well, Freddie sent a link. We got to look at that. Put something up on Discord. We'll have to take a look at that too. Yeah. It's been another week of Deportes. I'm currently watching Deportes right now. The Panthers are finally playing a team that isn't riddled with corona. So there's that.
And just a few seconds into the show, and we've already said the magic word.
I said Corona. It could be the beer. They could be just freaking.
That is true.
Yeah.
They drinking some great Corona that might, affect their systems.
Yeah, exactly.
That is very true.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so let's talk about this now. Quick poll right now. Is it worse to have the CV or a Corona drink? Let's just talk about it.
Corona. The virus.
If you were
CV could be a venereal disease, possibly. It could be that.
I know that John Oliver a few years ago, back when FIFA was going through the whole, just before the whole corruption thingamajig, he made a joke saying that if Sepp Blatter, who used to be the head of FIFA, was removed from office, that he would eat a bunch of stuff that he didn't want, including stuff in the McDonald's dollar menu. And he said he would even drink a Bud Light Lime, which he said was, he had a few descriptors of it, one of which was the runoff from a dumpster.
Okay. All right.
Which I don't drink beer. I don't drink alcohol, so I can't say whether it is that bad, and I don't know
For Bud Light or for Corona.
I don't know his thoughts on Corona either.
Oh, okay.
But I actually have no idea why I brought that up. I just thought it was funny. I assume that if he has such an issue with Bud Light Lime, that he may have a similar issue with Corona.
Yeah, I would say the Corona beverage is it's a date drink. I think that's how I always gauge a drink. If any girl is, we're out on a date at Chili's, when I got my fancy get up going, because you can't say no to those 2-for-1s, right? If they go for a Presidente, you always go say a Corona with lime, and I look at them like, okay, I know what I'm dealing with. As opposed to the date, it's like, I'll take whiskey. I'm like, she's gonna murder me. We're gonna die. But I don't know, man. I mean, I know CV might kill me in a couple of years or an instant, but Corona's just kind of tasting like tie-dyed piss. That's all I gotta tell you.
Oh God, Andrew! I feel like it was a mistake to have some great Bobrovsky. I'm about to jump on that bandwagon. On the Bobrovsky was a mistake bandwagon.
This early? Didn't you just pick him up?
It's year 2, and it's already looking bad. He just let in a softie right now against the Blue Jackets, and I'm already like, oh no.
Literally, this is Yankees get AJ Burnett in second year, and we're like,
Yeah, but but you guys have you had CC and all those other guys.
Exactly. At some point they went down. It was just AJ Burnett.
Oh boy. Okay. This episode is brought to you by you, our listeners that support us on Pod Hero. If you like this podcast and want to support the work we do, please take just a few minutes to support us on Pod Hero. Not only can you support this podcast, but you can provide ongoing support for all of your favorite podcasts with a single $5.99 per month subscription. And to answer your question, we're using Pod Hero to support our favorite podcast too. And for a limited time, Pod Hero will donate an additional $5 to our show on your behalf when you join it. Just make sure you use the link in your show notes. Thank you for your support, and you might need to translate that from Spanish to English, some of it. You'll figure it out. Just go on Google Translate. Yeah. So, What?
Can we get like audio clippings without getting sued of Jukebox Hero and just have the start go podcast hero with stars in his eyes?
So, all right. So, I guess some other preliminary news. Nobody claimed the Battlefield 3 code, so I have taken it and it's been added to my backlog. So, thank you everybody for that. And oh yeah, some other bit of news, some accessibility news here. We're now posting our episode transcripts on our website, and it's also available on Listen Notes for those who are unable to hear us. It isn't perfect, but it's some sort of progress. And I will be working on transcribing all 90 of our episodes at some point in the name of accessibility. So there you go. It may not be. It may not be perfect.
You guys know me from Francisco. You've known me for almost 7 years now.
Dear Lord.
Same with you, Charles. Actually, you know how much I am for accessibility. So I'm loving it, like McDonald's.
Yeah, but once again, I'm telling you, it is not perfect, and I think there's like 2 on our website right now, 2 or maybe 3. So that's, if you want to go through it and maybe laugh your ass off, possibly, because there might be some really weird things that are said there, then go ahead and do that.
Really weird things said to begin with.
Yeah, imagine that poorly transcribed. Oh boy. Yeah.
We believe at the Sports Goofs that every person should have the right to hearing our nonsense to the best of their ability.
Well, let's talk about some nonsense here. The NFC and AFC Championship games. Let's start with the NFC. Charles, you can begin to gloat.
Can I get my Vaseline?
Yeah.
Because thank God I can type with one hand.
Yep. Oh boy.
Let's hear it from your non-biased words first, Francis.
My non-biased words. Aaron Rodgers blew it, man. He had his chance. He had his chance right there. Red zone. They couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. At home. Yep. That's
when
it was right there.
When you Google real man, you see a shirtless Bartolo Colon, knowing that he takes everything he's got to do to succeed and leave nothing on the table, even if it means going against his advisors. When you look at and you Google schoolboy, it's Aaron Rodgers, man. You should have made that audible call. You know the difference between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers is? He would be like, keep on the field and sneak this in if it was Tom Brady. Field goal? F a field goal. And listen, we know this is on Mike LaFleur. I have been on the hate train for 2 seasons. I know this is on Mike LaFleur. But here's the thing. Mike LaFleur has 2 years of head coaching experience. Not even complete 2 years. It's completed now because he got booted. 1 year as a offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. So it's a little personal there too, because I don't think he was actually that good when he was our offensive coordinator. And Rodgers has been a starting quarterback for 10 years, give or take a couple of the years off from being behind Brett.
Mm-hmm.
And every time, you think you would learn from Mike McCarthy when you were so close to beating Seattle, and McCarthy went down and made the most conservative thing ever. You have a sense of leadership to take that reins, and no one could fault you if you succeed. But if you fail and you don't call the audible, or you don't try to fight for your coach and be like, hey, let's take this time out and see where it's going with it, you at least got to give it a little something. Because now you just get the basic media of going and saying, hey, we looked at the right call that time because we trust our defense. We're doing this, but quarterback's a leadership, and what you're going to have is a split of players who say trust the coach, players and critics who are going to say, hey, it was more on Michael LaFleur, but it's a little bit on Aaron Rodgers because Tom Brady tried to give you the victory. He started off great, and then he went bad real quick. He threw 3 picks.
He got really bad.
Because it's Tom who just wants to he's playing with an edge, but that's kind of a killer instinct where he's making boneheaded mistakes, but still trying.
I was aching it. Ironically, I don't know if that's the right use of ironically, but to Brett Favre When
Surprisingly,
yeah,
would be the word I would say.
yeah, it was based. Yeah, he was basically like Brett Favre at that point. When he was in those last couple of runs, that the last run he had with Green Bay and then the last one he had with Minnesota, he just kind of slung it there and got unlucky. Well, not unlucky, I mean, it's just the way he played, and so he just got intercepted. And same thing happened to Brady, but the outcome was different.
Green Bay lacks a killer instinct. I feel like this loss is more or less who's going to be your scapegoat. Is it going to be Mike Pettin, who called a bad game, but he slowed down Tampa Bay on the second half. The first half, Tampa scored 21 points, and then he slowed down just to 10. So there was a good defense that came around. And I think my audio just went weird. Okay, back to it. It was a good game that was called on the back end to it. Aaron Jones kind of wasn't there. Devontae Adams was kind of frozen up a little bit. Take away Martin, I don't know how to say his name, Valdez-Scantling, and his 50-yard catch. That offense was really kind of stagnant. And then Rodgers coming back, and all my friends were texting me saying, "Aaron heard you. He heard you talking that smack." Because of course, everybody was like, "Charles, you're right. You're right about everything." In that first half, but then it became something else. Because Rodgers, at the end of the day, my biggest thing that I've been saying is he's a fantasy football quarterback. He's a stat quarterback. Looking at his stats now, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 reception. He got sacked 5 times. It's not on him, really. But then Brady gave you every opportunity. So it's kind of like a marriage. So I don't know who to blame. But it always kind of feels like if you put too much on Rodgers, and they did put too much on Rodgers because that Green Bay defense let Tampa put some points up. Aaron Jones was stifled, only for 27 yards. Jamal Williams didn't do anything. Then what are you going to do? And yes, I'm going to say it now. This isn't humble pie because I was still right, but I'm going to be a humble winner. Not everything is on Aaron Rodgers' fault. Did it feel good to see him lose? Yeah, because it just didn't feel right with this team. But now this is also on Green Bay management for realizing maybe they don't have the right head coach. Because here's the difference, and I think you guys would agree with me. Having a winning coach is not the same as having the right coach for that team. And sometimes having the right players helps getting the right coach and helping the organization. Because now the organization's in snafu. You need another wide receiver. You have one too well. And where are you going to draft a good receiver when you're in the back 9 of the draft? You're not going to trade up. Maybe there's some free agents to get there. Kenny Stills was just all around the season. I think he would have been a perfect piece, even though he's just okay now. There's going to be some free agents out there, but you're not going to overspend. You need some tight ends. Mercedes Lewis isn't going to do anything. Robert Tunyon's kind of like a flash in the pan. He reminds me of Michael Rivera from Oakland Raiders 7 years ago. That's a callback, where he's just catching some touchdowns. It might fade to obscurity. Your defense, Kevin King was kind of out there. You got Jamal Williams coming back from Baltimore. What are you going to do? So now they're in this like weird spot where I don't think Aaron Rodgers is happy. You're going to want to keep him because now he's once again beholden to a coach that doesn't trust him. And I think that's what it comes down to. I know I'm going more psych routes. I was going, I was right, but now I want to talk about this because it's this. But Green Bay's the most interesting team to me. They were the most interesting team to me last year in the offseason when they drafted Jordan Love because there was nothing wrong with Rodgers, clinically, medically, professionally, anything. He was the superb guy to have, and you drafted his successor. And what happened? He's going to give you a 3rd MVP to his name on this team. Setting records, took you to a conference championship game, but now you have to say, hey,
4 straight. Yeah. 4 straight.
Yeah.
He's lost all of them, but 4 straight.
Yeah. But, and that's the thing, too. How much is on him? And I kind of want the quarterback to call off the coach. Because here's the thing. The guys in that locker room are going to respect you more for doing it, to set that guy straight. It's your head coach. It's not like he's going to trade you. And it's not like Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, where Carson, I can see, and I know, I feel like it's wrong to kind of say players are bratty, but I can see Carson Wentz going and saying, I don't like Doug Peterson, I don't want to come back here because of Jalen Hurts. But that situation kind of made more sense because how are you going to bench me for a rookie when you literally have not provided with me a healthy O-line or healthy receivers or even healthy tight ends because Zach Ertz and the other guy went down, Dallas Goedert. So I get that. But with Green Bay, I kind of want to see Rodgers be the true leader because now, to me, you don't have the right coach. But now you don't have leadership anymore. You have a GM, by the way, rest in peace, Ted Thompson, because he died last week. So since we're talking about Green Bay, that's the guy who drafted Aaron Rodgers. But now you have a GM who actually did something to progressively fix the side of the football that was always the problem because it was the defense for such a long time. Because Mike McCarthy wouldn't fire Dom Capers was running a bad defense. But now there's no leadership in LaFleur because he just gave all the and he had no emotion to it either. He's like, oh yeah, same right. I trust our defense. Maybe hindsight's 2020, but do you want that to lead your team? Because you're not guaranteed to go back there next year. Last year you were the fluke 13-3, and it showed. This year you were not the fluke 13-3 team. You could have came out looking like a Super Bowl champion. Your team did not play with that killer instinct and that killer edge. Because if I pick off Tom Brady 3 times and I sack him like 4 times, he usually doesn't win those statistically. Nobody does, right? And you just didn't trust your quarterback. So Rodgers, if this is the final year, he needs to come back and tell LaFleur, screw you. Because here's the thing too, you could trade him. There's no guarantees of getting rings. See Brett Favre when he went to the Jets, when he went to the Vikings. But I feel like this kind of maybe, and this was me trying to figure out for 2 seasons. Maybe, and this was me trying to figure out for 2 seasons to point to my real criticism of Aaron Rodgers is he really the leader, or is he just a guy who's like a paper tiger, and he's gonna yell at me? Like him, good guy, calm, cool, collected, very smart. I think he's gonna be an excellent, post whatever as a quarterback in the next 5 years. But it felt kind of right. It felt kind of good. But let me ask you this, Francisco. Coming from the AFC East, aren't you sick of Tom Brady succeeding everywhere and going to the Super Bowl?
Tom Brady.
By the way, guys, don't forget about me. I actually watched these games.
Oh, okay.
He watched it. Well,
Holy
shit!
Yeah. Oh, we didn't go through our what did we watch last week? I mean, I watched these 2 games for the NFL, the championship games, and then I watched both Raptors Heat games and both Nets Heat games. That's basically all that I watched, and I'm watching the Panthers right now. Bobrovsky, he's only let in 1 shot so far, and it's a goal. It's the only shot they have right now.
Make
Columbus.
that 2.
Oh God, Andrew, please don't. No. Oh, now you said it and it happened. Oh, come on.
No. I'm ahead of you.
2 shots on goals. He let in 2.
I'm a few seconds.
Oh man. Yeah, you are. But either way, 2 shots on goal, 2 goals immediately. This is not good, guys. This is not good.
Bravo, Panthers.
We signed it, the hockey version of Wei Yin Chen.
Great job. Great job.
Side note. Francisco, did you know that Sekou Smith died?
I just saw this. I looked on. It's on the chat stream on our, and I'm like, oh, whoa!
This is supposed to bring us joy. You introduced this sadness.
It's not my fault. It's the stream. Blame the stream. It has a mind of its own. Oh man, yeah, that happened, and we have Let's Haul y'all, and guys, I can't keep up with all these dead Hall of Famers. I just can't. There's one in the NFL, and then one in the NBA, and then more. And like baseball, the baseball ones are dropping like flies. I can't keep up. Sheesh, I just can't. There's too many. So many going down. Too many good people going down. What's happening, guys? Let's get back to this NFL. Yeah.
Andrew, since you kind of took the ring there, did you watch? Are you a Tampa Bay fan? Has this come in? Have you been converted?
Are you part of Champa Bay now?
I mean, the bandwagoner in me says yes, I should, but the anti-bandwagoner in me says I didn't get on early enough, so I don't deserve to be a part of this success bandwagon. I've been there with UCF, strangely enough. No one gave a crap about us when we went 0-15, except for the memes. And now all these people kind of jumped on. So, I've been there, and with the Lightning too. I mean, we had some rough years. Rays. So, I mean, I guess they're like my number 2 team, just to complete the Orlampa connection. But I would definitely have been more excited if the Jaguars had made it that far. So I don't know. I'll have to reassess. To answer your question, Charles, I think it's kind of cheating to be a bandwagoner. I think the exception is if you actually hang on with them, back when they're not doing well.
No.
So
I just
yeah,
it's in the tweet.
are bandwagoners a bad thing though? Okay, it depends on the franchise. When it's regards to Yankees and Lakers fans, yeah, it's a horrible thing. When it's like a team that hasn't won, like a team that hasn't won forever, it's fine. They need. If the Panthers started winning, maybe we'd actually get some bandwagoners, but not with Bobrovsky in that. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm turning, guys. I'm turning on Bob right now.
See, my logic with bandwagoners, and I'll keep it short because I know I stole a lot just talking about Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur and all that, is that the team is gonna like bandwagoners if that means that they're gonna attend their games, watch their matches, games, shows, whatever, and buy their merch. They might lose interest in a couple of years. I think it's a little different, I would say, for basketball versus baseball, football, and we talked about it last show because basketball is that accessible. You can like a player versus a team kind of thing, because I don't see myself, wearing a Italian shirt. Who I think that's how you say his name. Who the Yanks just picked up in a trade with Pittsburgh. Italian. I gotta learn how to pronounce it. I can't even pronounce hockey players' names. How am I gonna pronounce a baseball player's name? Moving on, Francisco.
Okay.
As you were saying.
All right. Yeah. So the Tom Brady. He's just like I akin him once again to a horror movie villain. You just can't kill him. He's like Jason.
I think I would be a little more. I don't know. I'll have to come back to this.
Yeah.
In the future, because I was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan way back when, during their first Super Bowl run, which I will allow myself to be a bandwagoner for that one because I was 10. So I don't think you kind of like how a kid under the age of 6 can't be held negligent for their acts or can't commit an intentional tort or what the hell. I'll have to go back to my review cards, but kind of like that, you can't expect a 12-year-old to understand, or the 10-year-old to understand the ramifications of being a bandwagoner.
I think somebody put up the point on the chat there. It depends on. There's different categories. There's the casual fans that, hey, the Heat are doing good, so let's all go to a basketball game, and they'll only cheer for the Heat. They don't know any other team, but like when the Heat are good, they'll go. Then you have like the obnoxious bandwagoners that are just like they basically file a new application whenever a new team becomes good. So right now there's a bunch of people who are jumping on the Tampa Bay bandwagon, and there are people who are on the Chiefs bandwagon that are popping in there a little from last year too.
I feel more comfortable about being a Buccaneers bandwagoner because I actually have connections to the area, as opposed to Kansas City, where the only connection is that I was born and lived in that general area of this continental landmass for 9 years.
Yeah, it also depends. Like there's so many factors where you came from, where you grew up, that type of thing. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense for some people, but it's like, okay, well, your parents were from there. All right, fine. That I can get why you're a Steelers fan in the middle of Wyoming. I get that, but and then sometimes it's like you're in the middle of those states, and it's like, okay, there's nobody nearby. I might as well cheer for somebody that's good. I don't know. But it all depends. Okay, so that's it. Buccaneers, first team ever to have a home Super Bowl. So that'll be interesting, though. It'll be interesting with that crowd because Florida is one of the few places that allows fans to go. So I want to see what the ratio is going to be between Chiefs and Bucs fans. That'll be interesting. And okay. So then the other game.
Hey,
Chiefs.
Francisco.
Yeah, I just saw. Don't worry. The Chiefs win. Yeah. Did Buffalo even have a chance, Charles? I don't think they did. It didn't seem like it.
You know my position
It
from a
didn't
couple
seem
weeks
like
ago.
it.
You know who I wanted to play.
Oh
You
yeah.
know I wanted to play.
Oh no, I get the narrative that would have been cool, but this there I mean there's a narrative with this one too. The old guard versus the new guard, who will a battle for the NFL's soul. Right, Tom Brady, the horror movie villain.
You guys track my
Patrick Mahomes.
tweets now on here?
Huh? Yeah, yeah, we got all that, man. It's all gonna be there.
Good
There's
lord.
all-
We know how to Big Brother it better than the government, man.
exactly. Yeah.
You can't hide from us. Jeffrey Holes, follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
FJOJR, Charles the True, Sports Goofs, BUs and Freddie stuff, everybody stuff. You got you.
We have a bunch of BYU fans now, that's for sure too. And actually, they're playing in the basketball game in the background. I didn't even notice that. I just hit random. All right. Yeah, but it's
I will
just,
say it was a boring AFC Championship game. I
yeah.
didn't care too much.
Buffalo started out with that 9-0 score to start out, but then it was like, guys, the inevitable is happening, and it did. The Chiefs are just way too damn strong. Tyreek Hill is fast, man. That guy's really,
Cheat code and Grand Theft Auto.
he's just so fast. What are you supposed to do? Oh, Wes McCauley's calling the game for the Panthers. At least that's happening.
You know, guys, I don't know if you remember, but Wes McCauley was one of the refs at the game where we went down on the ice.
I know. Yeah, we both freaked out about it when we both saw him. Remember?
And I still regret not saying hi, but I didn't want to be that
Yeah,
guy,
he
you
was
know?
coming off the ice after the intermission. Looked like, yeah, just let him go,
And it's not like I'm a little 6-year-old kid. I'm a 26-year-old man at that point.
Ooh, 26?
Yeah.
I'm old. Holy crap.
Yeah, we're old, man. Sheesh.
At that point, rewind 2 years.
Still,
Regardless.
we're
All right.
already in our 30s, basically.
Oh, boy.
I mean,
Let me take a look at the show. Where we're gonna go from here, guys. That's all I can say about the. I don't have much previews of the Super Bowl. I don't even have a prediction. You guys want to do predictions? We can throw up predictions. Huh? I think the Chiefs are gonna
I
win.
say give it a week. Because, they're going to do the Pro... To end on NFL, Pro Bowl's next week. You know how they're doing it. Madden tournaments.
Oh, God. I'm not watching that. I am not watching that.
I have a prediction. I have a prediction for the Pro Bowl.
And
Yes.
Or it's actually not a prediction so much as a hope. I hope that the game does some incredibly insane shit that breaks its
anything that can show how incompetent EA Sports is.
yes. Anything like, for example, in the Madden Bowl last year, in the Madden Bowl last year, the winning guy ran the whole game with a running back as the quarterback. Or no, it was I think a kicker as the quarterback because he just ran the same play every time and he was unbeatable. So I'm hoping that something like that happens or some insane physics breaks.
Yeah.
They should just put their kickers as their quarterbacks. I did that once with my buddy. I put in Sebastian Janikowski throughout the whole game because we were just doing dumb stuff, and it was weird getting him to like listen, because you can if you play Madden. I do. You guys don't. But you can put your kicker or your punter as your quarterback.
EA hates me.
And it makes it so much fun to do that.
EA hates me because I'm Nintendo and PC Master Race. So they hate me. Ugh, man. Yeah.
Remember when they tried to do the Madden on the Wii? And, like, did you ever play those and just
Yeah.
passing was such a weird little component?
Yeah, the motion controls that they tried to put in, but it wasn't exactly, yeah. All right. Well, let's move on here. Some bit of NHL news. Let's go down here. They had the 3 stars of the week. I haven't the first one that we're doing for this year. So let me roll them out here. Number 1, actually, let's go with the 3rd star first. 3rd star goes to John Gibson, goaltender for the Anaheim Ducks. He went 2-0-1, a 1.33 goals against average, 960 save percentage, and 1 shutout as he played against the Minnesota Wild and Colorado Avalanche. So there you go. Second star goes to Joe Pavelski of the Dallas Stars, center. 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points, including 2 game-winning goals. And he got 4 points in the season opener, which tied a franchise record. And the Stars went 2-0. And Pavelski became the oldest player in NHL history to collect 3 or more points in each of his team's first 2 games of a season, besting the mark set by Rod Gilbert in 1976-77 with the New York Rangers. 36 years old, 197 days for Pavelski. And we have 2 first stars, and this is pretty cool for the NHL. I'll go with the one that we're expecting here. Tyler Toffoli, Montreal right winger, had himself a week. 5 goals, 8 points in total. The Canadiens, second team in NHL history to get a point in their first 6 games to start a season, which is pretty amazing that it took up till now for that to happen, and pretty amazing that Montreal didn't do it themselves a long, long time ago when they had their dynasties. So that's pretty surprising to me. And the other first star goes to Virginie Hebert of I freaking have the it's. I wrote down the abbreviation for this, which is CHUM, like the CHUM bucket, but it's something French. It's some medical center in Montreal. The M stands for Montreal. I guess health is the C. Center. I don't know. Something like that. Oh, Montreal University Health Center. There you go. All right. It's not the CHUM bucket, but it's whatever. She's a respiratory therapist in Montreal since 2017, and the NHL is making it a point that whoever wins the first star of the week, they will then highlight a medical professional from that area to highlight as well, as part of their thanks from, because of the virus. So that's pretty cool. So she's a respiratory therapist, and she also got a nice shout out from the NHL. So that's pretty cool, the NHL. I like that. All right. So that's some real MVP type of thing that the NHL is doing. Okay.
While we're on the topic of real MVPs and NHL, I want to pull an Uno reverse card here and go with Gottlieb Kuhn.
You want to do okay? Well, Andrew is.
I will never say no to the Goon.
Yeah. Oh, whoops! I accidentally put the Charles Cage graphic on. We're not there yet. Show. Don't do that. All right, let's get that. Gottlieb's Goons. All right, Andrew, throw it out there. Who you got?
So my Gottlieb Goon, at least for the NHL, I'm sure I can find someone else out there. Is John Chayka or Shaka, whatever. He's the former GM of the Arizona Coyotes.
Someone saw Urinating Trees video.
Yep.
That's the young guy, right? I just want to verify.
Yeah.
It's like 31. He was 26 when he became GM.
So, I mean, the least of it is that he kind of jumped ship from the team pretty early. With no warning. I think he had just signed an extension deal or something or other. And then, not to mention, the Coyotes didn't need any help with getting worse, but he certainly did that. I think Urinating Tree called him a snake oil salesman.
He basically is. He's basically a con man.
So he's a lawyer. Yes. The Blue Jackets or the Panthers received a double minor. Anyway, but then I believe this was while he was at the helm. I don't remember, but wasn't he the GM who drafted that kid who attacked the?
No. That was because the Coyotes let go of him back in July during the virus, and the Coyotes kind of basically went without a GM at that point, and their excuse when they drafted that piece of shit, and that's basically what he is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Is we didn't have a GM and whatever, and then basically it wasn't until like the rest of the NHL and the rest of the hockey community was like, dude, just let go of this kid. It doesn't matter. He shouldn't deserve a second shot in hockey. And that's what happened. But yeah, the Coyotes are a mess as a franchise. As hard as they try, and they I think they had like the first Hispanic president of the team, and they're trying to like half of them are trying to do something good. Half of them like it's not going well at all because like they shoot themselves in their foot. It's all kinds of things, man. The Coyotes are basically desert Florida Panthers. Basically, yes. Oh man, I would cry, guys, but I have to laugh at this point. It's kind of like the Joker, you know. This is I have to laugh at this point. It's kind of like the Joker, you know. This is the start of me becoming the Joker at some point. It's the Florida Panthers just continuously just destroying my soul.
Let me ask you this. I brought this up in a hockey Discord chat a few days ago about your idea of merging the Panthers and Coyotes.
That's what I said. I said
do you still?
I still stand by that idea.
You still stand by it?
Merge the two franchises together, pop them, keep them here in Sunrise, then forget hockey in Arizona. You will lower it'll be 31 teams with Seattle coming in, and then the NHL will have room for another expansion franchise that you can stick wherever the hell you want, Quebec or Houston, what have you. I don't care.
I hope it doesn't go to Houston because that city is stained and tainted.
I think I don't know, man. I wouldn't mind saying
the earth of Houston for sports.
I think it would be a good. But now that James Harden's gone, whatever. Now it's a time to reset. George Springer went up to Toronto too, so I think it would be like maybe there'd be a nice reset button with the NHL team in Houston. They'll have a natural rivalry with Dallas. But that's an aside. All right, so John Chaika, yeah, just noted douchebag. That's a good one, Andrew. Very good one. And he's suspended from the NHL as well. So
which I want to give an additional Gottlieb goon to the NHL, whoever their disciplinary system is. They suspended him for less than a year.
Oh, it's not as bad as the NCAA with Manziel for half a game, so that's better than that.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of is that they viewed his time since July was when he left.
As part of, whatever.
I guess they viewed it almost as like giving him time served, so it's more like a year and a half suspension.
I don't. NHL teams are. Well, he won't be touched by any team anytime soon, regardless of the suspension. He's just not going to be touched by any team. I'd give it another year. All right, that's a good one, Andrew. That's a good goon.
If we're talking goons, I think we know who we have to talk
about. Yeah, we have some backup goons here. We got plenty of backup goons.
We have a GM brother.
Oh yeah, it's a good segue. All right.
And his is probably, I don't want to say worse, because each one you can't weigh sins when they're all sins, right? But what's his name? Shane Poirier of the Mets, the GM.
Jared Porter.
Yeah. I know. I thought Shane because I'm thinking Dustin Poirier because I was looking at some UFC stuff. Look at that. I'm multitasking. Long short of it, and I kind of want to talk about it a little bit because. For background, for people who are listening that don't know about Charles, aside from the fact that he likes wrestling, so I work in the field of stalking, DV, dating violence, stuff like that. I won't go further into that detail. So I see a lot of these kind of cases come up when you have someone harassing women, men. I represent both genders, all genders, whoever needs our help in the world of stalking, and how aggressive people can be when they are in positions of power and try to utilize that just to get a touch of the flesh is what I'll call it. We'll keep it PG here. So Jared Porter, newly hired GM of the Mets, in his process of vetting for the background, for that candidacy, of course, the owners and Insanity Outlet of the Mets, they don't ask these questions because it's not a common question I think they would ask, especially if there was something that had been really fully reported. But Jared Porter, he had some revealing text messages. If you guys read them, I don't know if you read them or not. I did.
I
For that.
yeah.
That he was sending to a foreign, and I only say foreign because that's how they always kind of put into it. But it was a journalist who he had met, who she just wanted to get into the business, as we kind of want to, right? As we kind of want to, right? And he uses this whole he's basically a predator. I'm gonna call it like that. So he used these predatory tactics to invite her for what she believes in the business to him just constantly sending her text messages, 50 text. I'm thinking of a case, sorry, 50 text messages, and it all result of him showing, his erect penis, right, going into it. And that came out. And of course, thankfully, the Mets had some competency and they fired him because in the sports world, it's very weird because even though the culture now might be woke and we care about even people sending, I don't want to say dick pics on air, but I'm saying dick pics to somebody. We don't want to call that as.
It's not the worst thing we've said on air, babe.
Right? We don't want to call it sexual assault, but guess what, you guys? It's unsolicited, unwanted, not requested.
Indeed.
It is. To her, and in sports world, it's always kind of behind. And I'm gonna bring up some wounds of the past. Big Ben was carrying somebody into a bathroom, but yet nothing really happened. Right? 4 games suspension. But so Jared Porter, he was promptly fired. He's, I want to say, tarnished, and I don't get it with MLB baseball because you got to remember the Houston Astros. What was it, assistant to the GM, whatever that guy's name was, who goes and says thank God for Ozuna, and he was, and Ozuna's had a history of being a DV beater. I'm trying to make sure I'm not getting players crossed. Everybody screws up. So Jared Porter was doing all that fun stuff, and of course the media screws it up because I think they revealed what nationality, what country she was from, right?
Yeah, or maybe even her name, possibly too.
Yeah.
So
you guys don't know how much. So they're goons as well. I think they also gave her name too. I was like updating on it because what I deal with, there's people who move out from. We got people coming from out of state, man, across counties, and I always tell any of the attorneys that we're training, I tell them, like, if they do confidential, you make sure it's confidential. You do all the forms, you write everything, you leave nothing for a chance because they might not, their abuser, their harasser might not be able to get that information, but they hire an attorney, man, you just go on the clerk's website, you get the benchmark, you can find whatever you need, and God knows what happens when you relay information. So he's a goon. It's sexual assault or a form of it. It's cyber stalking. People out there, he's a predator. Don't use a position of power, even though he wasn't a GM at that time. You still had an in to invite somebody on first off, I'm gonna tell people straight up right now, you don't need to go and have drinks to help people learn on the business. You give them a phone call. If you really have good intentions, you give them a phone call, man. Just grow up in that sense. And I feel bad for anybody because it's everyone who are just trying to make it into a very hard, very not diverse, very one-sided demographic of who has the ins for information, and very exclusive club just wanting to get into in the industry, and they have to deal with having to hear people's crappy jokes, drink their crappy food, drink their crappy drinks, eat their crappy food, having to deal with a lot. Because I don't know about you guys, my social battery when I hang out with people leaves 20 minutes into it, and they are probably having to endure 3 hours worth of that nonsense. Jared Porter, if you look at him, probably laughs at his own jokes. And you ever see the meme where he's like, "Let me explain to you everything." He seems like that guy. So you're a goon, in that sense, all the way. You're a Gottlieb goon, and it's hopefully this just kind of unravels a policy that when you're searching for people and you're looking to hire people in high positions, not even executive positions, but even scouting or anything like that, top, bottom, that they learn to ask other questions, such as, and let's talk about this, and I'll give you an example of a question. What is your treatment of, genders that you're attracted to in the locker room? And I would even do that on players that you're drafting, all across any sport, young men, because, there is that harassment that comes in there when you're bringing in, a female reporter who has to deal with the I'm going to say toxic masculinity of guys, or even that sexual aggressiveness that young men might portray, or vice versa. I don't care. Whatever you're into is what you're into. But that should be part of the questioning. Instead of asking, it's like, do you know that your mother's a hooker? What was it, Jeff Ireland who said that to Des Bryant in his interviews? Am I getting? It's been so many.
Yeah, Dolphins, Hard Knocks. Yeah.
But going into that mindset, even when you're evaluating players, these are questions asked because we talked about it before the show started on Hall of Fame for integrity. That also comes in when you're entering into the field of any kind of sport as a player, as an executive, as a scout. So maybe these are questions you want to ask and say, instead of resume, say, hey, if you're 46 years old and we employ all people of diverse ages, genders, backgrounds, ethnicities, what are you going to do in kind of providing a proper workplace? Because at the end of the day, it's a workplace. Stop making it into Hollywood where people get away with a lot of shit. Same thing what you do in sports, because there's no accountability. So good on the Mets in a way for just immediately stomping it out. And I can understand people who would go and say, hey, this is 4 years ago, this is before he's employed, all this other stuff, he shouldn't be allowed to do it. But if you ever gone for a job in a background interview, what they're always looking for, that high-end felony, right? Because you have to try to provide a culture of what you want your establishment to be and the people that you employ. So stuff like that matters. Why? Because, I think when someone's not answering you, not talking back, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, look at my ding dong, that can be kind of disturbing. Because what's going to happen if you, employ somebody that he finds attractive and he wants to go have drinks with? You want to deal with that true sexual battery? I don't think you do, man. So, Jared Porter, you're a goon. You're just a dick. I'm just gonna say it like that, man. And good luck to you. Doing whatever, because God knows in the MLB he'll probably get a job somewhere, but it won't be cleaning toilets.
Oh God, I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't get any. I hope he's blackballed from the league forever, for sure. I get the.
Blackball like that?
I get the Astros cheating scandal. This is
have,
real life stuff, man.
I have a couple of scoring updates for you guys.
Hold on. I got one more goon.
Okay, go ahead.
I got FIBA.
Oh, of course.
FIBA. For messing with our good old Canadian brethren.
Yeah. Don't you hate Canada, though?
I love Canada. I just hate them in hockey. I don't like them when it comes to hockey. But I like Canadians in Canada. Okay. I love.
Canadian guy.
Yeah, I love hockey. But when it comes to hockey, Canadians are just kind of dicks. Because it's the one thing they're good at. And so that's the USA versus Canada thing. That's when that comes out, and you just gotta deal with it. But everything else about Canada, I love it. Love Canada. Yeah, they've given us so many things. We can't be mad at Canada, and I can't believe people would be fining Canada for opting out of the frickin' FIBA World Cup or whatever, a World Championship, the AmeriCup, whatever they call that, because of the virus. So they fined them for that. I don't understand. $227,000. I would assume that's in Canadian. I'm not even sure. And I don't even know what that money goes to. I don't even know. So either way, FIBA, you're just goons, man. You're just goons.
So what happens if Canada just says we're not going to pay it?
It does. Like what's the big deal of them not going? Whatever games you had scheduled for them, that team automatically wins. I don't get it. I just don't. I don't understand. It's just
the Olympics are canceled, man, and you're gonna hold Canada to dry for not doing your second rate. You're not even like the alternative sports to watch for basketball internationally. It goes to like one of the European leagues.
Yeah, when they do the Euro championships, those are actually entertaining. Yeah, because here in the U.S. side or the American side, it's basically the USA. Boom, just that's it. Nobody else can beat them. So that's what FIBA. Just come on, guys. Just read the room.
Weird. Your rules are weird.
Yeah.
Canadian players don't even want to play.
3-point line is weird. Oh, dear Lord. Anyways, so there's that. Again. All right then. Let's move on here. Can we go to the real MVPs? That's a nice little.
Oh, Andrew's got score updates. So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
I'll cut this out of the podcast version because it won't be live by that point.
I'm following along with the NWHL. Well, I guess this would be better suited for you, Go Girl. I don't know. This doesn't deserve to be in a segment. Watching some highlights here. Looks well. We just had a game wrap up. It was the Minnesota Whitecaps taking down, I believe it was Buffalo, 1-0. Right now, I'm watching highlights of the Metropolitan Riveters and the Connecticut Whale. I don't know how that one turned out, but I'll let you know when I find out. But still, we've got NWHL hockey going on. We've got NWHL hockey going on right now. So
I like that they stream on Twitch, so pretty much everybody can watch them. That makes it nice and accessible for everybody. You just have to make a Twitch account and you can watch them. You don't have to get any weird cable packages, nothing like that. Oh yeah, that was part of the news from the NHL that I was going to talk about too. Before I move on to this, because I just want to get the hockey news out of the way. And it's really more than just hockey news. NBC Sports is shutting down.
Yep.
They're not going to be a channel no more. So that's going to happen, and I guess it's all part of this flurry of announcements for NBC. So that means that NHL games will be, and this is something that they're going to, by the end of 2021, is when they expect to completely phase out NBC Sports Network. So I would assume for the 2021-22 season, the NHL will be broadcasting on NBC proper, which is very rare. It's like once a week or something, and the USA Network. So that's going to happen. And
you have to imagine that, and I think also part of it is they're trying to also make a bit more emphasis on their Peacock. On their
I'm
their
5 years
Peacock
old.
Streaming network.
I'm 10 years old. Really.
They're much to the dismay already of English Premier League fans, because they would broadcast their games on NBCSN. So now they're shifting over to a subscriber method.
A lot of fans are wondering how this is going to affect, because NBC had NASCAR. They had the soccer games on there. They had Notre Dame, but I guess that's still going to be on NBC proper anyways. And and what isn't NXT on USA Network, Charles?
Yes, I'm going to reserve that for the cage.
Yeah, because there's the NHL always at least NBC Sports had Wednesday Night Rivalry, which is when they would broadcast an NHL game on NBC Sports. But
what I will tell you to not spoil the content of later, because that's actually probably the biggest news that came out this week, bigger than Royal Rumble, is that the rumors have been that NXT is going to remain on Wednesdays, but I think it's because they want to kind of suffocate Dynamite a little bit, because companies and corporations have that killer instinct. But I think what's going to happen is Peacock is probably going to have live stuff as well, or they'll call Peacock specials, because that's how you're going to get people to want to watch it, right? So you have to do those little things. It's like if I have HBO Max, it's whatever, but if you're giving me shows only for HBO Max, it's like, okay, that's fine. Maybe that's not like the best example, but that's the only way I can think of. But it's going to say, hey, we're going to give you all this other stuff too, but if we're going to give you this thing first or whatever, I'll give a better example. Netflix had the El Camino movie, for the Breaking Bad epilogue, as I call it. Good movie. You guys should watch it if you haven't. If you don't like that stuff, too bad. But what happens is they had those exclusive rights for several months before AMC broadcasted it, for their own thing for conventional people. So my guess is that NXT will be consistent, and the big rivalry games are going to be set. But
before we get to that, and this is something I was going to mention, and BU brought it up on the chat there, is the NHL's contract with NBC does run up at the end of this season, the shortened 2021 season, and from there the NHL will negotiate with the other networks. I would assume NBC and CBS, ESPN/ABC, and Fox, to see who will be carrying out the games from there on. It might be a multi-package deal. I'm not sure. We're not really sure right now, but and this is part of the reason why the NHL is playing their games regardless of the fact that the virus is there, and they've had to juggle their schedule around, much to the detriment of the Panthers and the Lightning too, as well. A lot of games in our division, because it happened to our division, are being shuffled about. So that the reason they're playing is because, listen, opening night, I think they had the highest ratings that they've ever had on opening night in the history of NBC Sports for opening night game, and then the following day when they had several other games as well. So NBC's getting some ratings, and the NHL wants to make bank while they can because they're not making bank anywhere else, and that's the reason they have ads on the helmets and things like that. So they're looking for a nice big deal in order to make up for some of the losses from the virus, and that's why they're playing. And it's going to be interesting to see the negotiations from here on out. I hope NBC doesn't get complete exclusive rights to the NHL, because I want them. I just want, or maybe like Major League Baseball, where it's Turner Sports and Fox, and I wouldn't mind that type of deal, or like the NBA has Turner Sports and ABC, ESPN. I wouldn't mind that either, because at least it gives you a different flavor. All right, you guys know how much I've complained about NBC Sports' coverage for like the last 10 years. If ESPN gets again, I want them. Yeah, we know that, Andrew. We do know that, and at least you might get your theme back as well. But I want a different flavor. I'm tired of. It took until last Mike Milbury saying something stupid for them to finally get him off the air. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to some better coverage, and I'm also hoping that it would provide some variety, because NBC Sports, listen, there is bias there, because Comcast, was it Comcast Universal, or NBC Universal? That's the new one. And it's basically just Comcast. They own the Philadelphia Flyers, so that also means that they would show a lot of Flyers games, and they wouldn't take many chances with showing the other teams in the league. Even the Lightning are their Stanley Cup champions, and I think they only have like 2 national games or something like that. It's something ridiculous. And it's like they're showing the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are not good. And they're not the same team anymore. You got the Philadelphia Flyers, who are a good team. You've got the Vegas Golden Knights, who are like the hot darling. So they'll show off the hot darling as well, and then I'm pretty sure they'll show the Chicago Blackhawks as well, even though they're a team that sucks. So that's that. There's problems with that. Like with
You're
regard,
saying that it's rigged to a degree.
It's not that they don't market the NHL very well. They just market the big markets here, and I get why they do that, but they don't take a chance like with ESPN and the NBA. They'll show the Milwaukee Bucks when the Milwaukee Bucks are good. ESPN is not showing the New York Knicks, even though they're in New York, but the Knicks suck, and they've sucked for a long time. But NBC Sports will run out the New York Rangers no matter how terrible they are. Yeah, that's not the... Yeah, ESPN has a lot of things that they juggle around. That might be a con if the NHL's in there, and they might not give high priority to the NHL. But even then, I don't think NBC did a good job. I think Turner Sports would be pretty good. I'd like to see what they would do with the NHL. They do a pretty good job with the NBA and Major League Baseball on both ends there. So that's just my opinion on that situation there. Let's move on here. Where are we at? Oh, guys, we're getting to the halfway point. Y'all know what that means, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me find the graphic. Give me a second. I've rearranged some things on the broadcasting program I have here just to simplify things for myself, and at the same time, it's not, because I'm still not used to it. A word from our non-sponsors: people, places, things, concepts, what have you, that we've been enjoying over the last week. I don't know who wants to start. Andrew, you weren't here last week, even though we did some makeup non-sponsors in your name. But I don't know if you want to start.
Who did you do in my absence?
I did the game Cyberhook, which is a really fun game, and I beat it this past weekend. And I forgot, what did you do, Charles?
I did Jupiter Donuts.
Well, that was your
and I
main
think
one. That was your main one.
with the Spider-Man DLC.
Ah, that's right, the Spider-Man DLC. That is right.
Francisco, how do you say scored A?
Scored A.
In Spanish.
Scored A. Scored A what?
Like X scored a goal.
Gosh, man, I've never really used that phrase ever, really. I'm sure if I watched soccer more, I would have known. I know Barkov just scored, so there you go.
Anyway, that's what I was trying to allude to, is that Los Panteras scored a goal.
Metieron un gol, he put in a goal, whatever. I don't know. Anyways, that's a very long bout of silence that's not going to be in the podcast version. I'm going to edit that out. Okay.
So I guess I'll go first, since I'm the longest without a non-sponsor.
Go ahead.
And I have my my non-sponsor is a person, actually, in this case. My non-sponsor, La Florida Gange La Bue.
Florida Gange La Bue.
Which is French, I'm assuming. My non-sponsor is Gene McDowell. Gene McDowell is the former head coach of the UCF Knights and Golden Knights. He unfortunately passed away this morning at age 80. He's not the first head coach of UCF, but he was probably the most influential figure in UCF football history, which is saying a lot, considering that we've had Scott Frost, Danny White, you name it. Because if it weren't for him, there would be no UCF football, because the team was teetering on the edge of, I guess you would call it insolvency. I don't know, but basically the team was gonna go under money wise if it wasn't for him. He arranged a ton of people to come together, including Burt Reynolds. Yes, the Burt Reynolds. To donate money for an auction, to donate items for an auction. He raised so much money for UCF football that kept him alive. He took the team from Division II through Division I AA, which is today's FCS, and then all the way to Division 1A, which is today's FBS. He coached for, I think, 85 to 97, so I think 12 seasons. He's the winningest head coach in UCF history. As Freddie pointed out, he was the first good head coach at UCF. He saved the team and brought us into our first kind of steps of prominence. He recruited Dante Culpepper to come to UCF and was Culpepper's head coach for 2 years. Unfortunately, his tenure ended a bit, shall we say,
controversial.
Because he was wrapped up in a cell phone scam scheme back in '97. Apparently, a few of UCF's players were.
Andrew, did we lose him?
Okay, yeah, I thought it was just me.
Yeah, no, he's gone.
I will.
Well, hold on, hold on.
Same.
Let's see if he pops back in. Let's see if he pops back in. Hold on, Andrew. We cannot hear you. This will not be in the podcast version of this. I will edit this
It
out.
should be in the podcast version. You broke up there, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot where. Oh no, now he's gone. Charles, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, Andrew's gone.
Well, to continuing on until we get him back.
Okay.
We won't go to the next sponsor, but I will say doesn't it feel right that an old coach gets caught up in a cell phone scandal? Because I was waiting for him to say it was like a Bobby Petrino,
Yeah.
and it's like you're just on a motorcycle with some young grad student, and
Cell phone
instead
scandal
of
in 1997, though. I mean,
I just think those big ass like Wall Street.
yeah, Motorola's.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
Speaking of cell phones, can you hear me now? Good.
Yeah,
What was the last thing you heard?
Cell phone scandal. Jinx.
And we you owe me a Coke. I owe you a Coke. So tell us why his story ended.
So he was caught up in a cell phone scandal in '97 where one of UCF's players was, I guess, doing something. I guess it would be today's equivalent of jailbreaking, sort of. But so that people could make phone calls and whatnot without having to pay money, so they wouldn't be on any sort of contract. The player was a former employee of AT&T, so he was the one. You don't mess with AT&T, you don't mess with the feds like that. I don't exactly remember what he did, what McDowell did, but if my memory serves, he kind of lied for the players, kind of hid for them, obstructed justice, I think was the charge, so that they wouldn't get in trouble. And of course, that came back to bite him. But that aside, I mean, he was persona non grata at UCF for several years, actually more like a decade, 2 decades, before finally they invited him back and gave him the recognition he deserves for everything that he did for UCF. So he passed away this morning at age 80, and just thanks to him for everything he did to make UCF what it is today. Promo code McDowell.
Okie dokie. Who wants to go next? I got mine ready. I don't know if you want to go, Charles.
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go. First off, I gotta say that's like the ultimate ride or die coach, because Nick Saban would not take any kind of state or fed charges for obstruction of justice. So kind of respect there to Gabe McDowell. I have mentioned this non-sponsor before, but there's a reason why we sponsor these people. Is because we would either A, try their product again, or B, woefully go back all the time. But as we know, in the last month, your boy has been healing from them wisdom teeth. It's better now. I can talk. I don't sound like a Cedric Stanley. I'm not talking too quick. The pain's kind of not there. So I'm opening up my adventure in eating. I lost a couple pounds. I had to kind of pack on some weight. You guys know from the donuts that I was talking about. But last night I had Taco Bell. They're perennial. They're not a sponsor for tonight. But today I was like, man, I don't want that leftover beefy 5-layer burrito. That's tomorrow. That'll be tomorrow's lunch. That'll be great. I love it. But I was like, man, I really want this. I want a sub. And I looked online. I was like, I haven't had Jersey's Mike in a hot minute, boys. And it's been like 5 months for me. So when your body wants something, when you can't eat solids for several weeks, your body desires it, craves it. This is the closest thing to pregnancy cravings. Ladies, I feel sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize that we do this to you. But man, I got myself my buffalo chicken sandwich, a giant one, packing 1,800 calories. I ate that son of a gun. I ate it all in one sitting, boys. I usually just split in half for lunch and dinner. There was no mercy. I knew what I wanted. I was just gonna destroy it, and I destroyed it. I can't still eat chips yet, so that's like the saddest part. But I had that with a nice glass of water. It was beautiful. That buffalo chicken sandwich, it's drenched in Frank's Red Hot sauce, cheese. You can add bacon if you want bacon. I'm trying to be good on the crispy stuff, so no bacon. But man, I packed on like that 1,800 calories, but it was worth every bite, every penny. And today they had a sale. If you use their app, type in their own promo code JM25, you get 25% off of your purchase and your order. So it has to be using their app though. My dumb self obviously did not read this and I paid full price. But you know what? Sometimes you pay for quality and you pay for that loyalty because they always make things right. So Jersey Mike's, said it before, I'll say it again. I will support you with your love. You're still kind of pricey, but damn, you're good. Promo code delicious.
Yeah. Nothing like a good sub, right? Nothing like a good sub.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I did not dip it in ketchup. I'm sorry, but that is not something that you dip in ketchup.
I'm a heathen.
One day it's gonna happen, and I will use it on our OnlyFans. That's right, folks.
I forgot what your reaction was, Andrew, when you saw me doing that. I think you were surprised.
It was probably the equivalent of seeing a child get ran over by a car, but we'll leave that for Andrew to tell us.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I guess I'll keep with the food theme, but it's not a food item that I will be highlighting, but it highlights food a lot, and it's something I sent to you guys yesterday. Guys, Netflix.
Oh.
Netflix. I've been watching a lot of Japanese shows on Netflix. There's a ton of them, really. They've brought over a lot. It's pretty interesting to see what Japanese people like, and apparently Japanese people love food. It's a thing. I've heard this other podcaster, Liam Edwards on Dad and Sons podcast. It's a video game podcast. Regardless, anyways, he's basically like, yeah, all the things that Japanese television is just them showing off people eating food. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a dream. Wow, what a wonderful land. So there are a few shows that I've been watching that are food based. There's another one called Midnight Diner, but I'll get to that one later. I haven't even finished that one, but I finished this one because it's only one season. I think it's like 12 episodes long. A lot of Japanese series are very short. You can get them out of the way.
30 minutes or an hour?
30 minutes or 24 minutes, whatever you want to call it, per episode. So it's not that bad. You can.
That's a weekend watch.
Yeah,
right
that's a weekend. But I watched it over a week. Man, okay, let me just show you guys. Gosh darn it. And it's right there.
Podcast people can't watch it, but to see his recommendations
Yeah,
on the podcast.
Yeah, don't worry. It'll be there in the show description on the podcast version. But it's called Kantaro, the Sweet Tooth Salaryman. And why is it going to my frickin'... It's gonna go on my... Wow, I'm logged into Netflix on Sports Goofs. I did not know that. You guys can see...
we appreciate that you have the guy from the Unbreakable Kimmy just met?
Titus. I love Titus, man. I love Titus. Okay, you can't see it. Yeah, I love Titus, man. Sheesh. Anyways, I guess I'll just show it here. IMDb, 2017. Let's go with the Wikipedia entry. That's fine. Oh, but you guys can't see it. You can't see the wonderfulness of this show. Go on Netflix. It was a manga. So that's the origin of this series. It was a manga, and then they converted it into a live action series. And I'm glad they did a live action version instead of making an anime version, because they couldn't have done this. They couldn't have done the food that they showcase justice. They couldn't have done it. So Kantaro is a salaryman, which in Japan is basically you wear a suit and you go up to the office and you're plugging away at an office, and that's the way things are in Japan, and a lot of people hate it. Regardless, that's the whole societal thing about Japan. But anyways, he's a salaryman. He's probably like the ultimate worker. Right, he's almost like a robot in a sense.
He's a pale man.
Yeah, but he's got a little secret. He plays hooky during work. So he works for like a book publisher, and he basically goes to different bookshops and tries to get them to buy orders of books that they're making and things like that. But while he does that, he tries to do it in such an efficient way. This is why he's like a robot. He works so efficiently because he's trying to find time so that he can play hooky and go to different restaurants and try all of their famous desserts. So he's always looking for restaurants and like this special like specialty desserts that they make is and he has a blog where he doesn't reveal who he is. It's a secret blog, and he writes about all this food. But the way they present it in the show, let me let me find some
I
images.
feel like this is you, man. Like, are you sure? You
All
should not
right,
be
so
suing?
there's a picture of his face right there with what can only be assumed is his O face. And that is basically a face that you will see in every episode every time he takes his first bite of all of these desserts in the show. And the desserts are computer animated at some points. He goes off into all of these wonderful lands that it is all CG rendered like he's going on a trip. It is amazing. And I honestly laughed my ass off from this show because this man, I want to be this man. I want to be this man. He just he look at this. This thing has like it has mana emitting from it's all in his mind, but it's there. All these desserts, and it's so good, man. It is so funny. It is so good. Look at the way he looks at that. Look at the way he looks at it. He's oh man, the whole time there's like one person in his job that suspects that he's doing something nefarious, and she's trying to figure out if he's like this mysterious guy. So there's like that subplot, but the main part of the show is him trying to find he's all these challenges that get in his way of playing hooky to go to these restaurants and eat these wonderful desserts here. I love it, man. There's there it is. Please faster. That's the subtitles right there. You get the show right there. So there he is, man. It's hilarious.
Does he eat the Cheeto KFC chicken sandwich?
I mean, it's all Japanese food. It's all Well, it's not strictly Japanese desserts. It's European desserts. It's a whole thing. They present it so nicely.
I'm gonna make the American
Look,
Netflix.
that's one of the episodes when he brought one of his coworkers, and they're both making the O face right there. So, Charles, you gotta watch this show. It speaks to us, man. It speaks to us. It speaks to us. Promo code O face.
Thank you for this journey.
Wait, is Andrew gone?
No, we have our guest person.
Oh, okay.
She's on talk.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
Freddie, can we do yours in a few minutes? Our guest just told me that she has a bit of a time crunch.
Okay. I mean, she can, however long she can give us, we'll be glad to do so.
Okay, hold on. Bear with me for a second, guys. If you want to just talk,
We
I
can.
don't know.
Yeah. Let me see what's on my.
I got
show
one.
sheet.
Not sports related. Has there ever been a food that you've had in your life that gave you the reaction of what we just saw? Sorry, podcast people, but speak live.
All right.
And see what we're talking about.
If I guess to tie this into sports, there's one item that I had at Marlins Park that gave me that face, and it was only available once at the ballpark. It was back when the Marlins were trying with the Loria era at the beginning. So the Marlins had this one item per game for each opponent. So it'd be like a regional thing that they would have per opponent. And the Cleveland Indians, who don't play the Marlins all the time, maybe once every like 4 or 5 years, what have you, they came over, and it was this barbecue pulled pork hot dog thing. And
that sounds so good.
oh my, it was the best ballpark food I've ever had, and they've never had it available since. Even when the Indians came back, I was looking to see if they had it, and the Marlins just stopped trying with the whole regional thing. By that point, I'm like, oh God, no! I'm glad I had it once in my life, though. I'm glad I had it once in my life.
Gabrielle, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Hi, guys.
Excellent.
Hello.
Hola.
Everything is working.
This
All
is
right.
so I've never used. I didn't even know this existed. This is great. This is good to know.
This is our way of being so professional and doing our podcast every week. So I will introduce. This is Gabrielle Starr. She has a CVS receipt of credentials here. She's the founder of Girl at the Game, which is a website which the tagline is "Sports written by women for everyone." She, in addition, she is the host of Girl at the Game, which is the page's podcast. Also co-hosts Nickelodeon Again with our good friend Jeremy Taché.
Is that a Nickelodeon podcast?
It's a Nickelodeon rewatch podcast. We watch shows like Zoe 101 and Rugrats, and we're actually just getting, now that Jeremy started his new job, we're going to start back up again.
Oh God! Oh,
We have like 6 or 7 episodes.
Please tell me. I will go on the show and talk about Keenan and Kel all day with you guys.
Well, we actually haven't done a Keenan and Kel episode yet, so if you want to come on, you can be our guest for Keenan and Kel.
Keenan and Kel, Rocco's Modern Life, Angry Beavers. Oh my God!
And then, so I'll briefly introduce my other co-host. The one that's been speaking the most is Francisco.
Hi.
Hi.
Hola.
Bienvenidos. He is our resident Florida Panthers / Miami Marlins.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I can give a much quicker synopsis. Yes, Florida Panthers. I write for the SB Nation Panther site, and yeah, Marlins, Heat, and unfortunately the Dolphins, and the Florida State Seminoles, because I actually went to Florida State, and then I guess by proxy FAU and FIU, because I went there, and I went to basically every university in Florida at some point or other. But yeah, that's me. That's me.
And then you're gonna love the other co-host, Charles. So he's kind of all over the place. He is a Panthers fan by proxy because he lives in South Florida. He is a Miami Heat fan, a Tennessee Titans fan, and drumroll please, a New York Yankees fan.
He's actually from New York, so at the very least he's got that.
Okay, I'm also from New York, but I have standards for my baseball teams.
I don't, and this is how we're going to start this conversation. Roger Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame. Bam. There you go.
I mean, I'm not ever going to vote to induct someone who was in a relationship with a 16-year-old girl. The PEDs is one thing, but Pete Rose and Roger Clemens, for me, it's the statutory rape that kind of sets them apart. That's my shtick.
Fair point. I can
like Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, maybe we can talk. But then again, like also domestic abusers.
I really felt like she should have been there for my rant on Jared Porter and how he's a terrible human being.
Oh, I definitely should have been here for your Jared Porter conversation.
We could always talk about how much
we that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely, anytime. Trust me when I tell you, there are way more men who sexually harass women in sports that will eventually be uncovered. So
legitimately, I
can totally come back.
Do you want to split her time?
Because Charles gave a very impassioned speech, because of course he deals in that in his professional life, in his professional career. So that would have been.
I'll let him explain what his work is.
Oh, so.
Oh boy.
And you're on a time crunch, Gabrielle, so I'm sorry that somehow we got tossed in this Argentinian tango of opinions. So without going into too much detail, I work for a domestic violence center in Florida, and I deal with domestic violence, stalking, dating violence, stuff like that. So coming into it, I have my legal opinion of it, and then I have my real world opinion of it from what I've seen, what I gauge the clients I interact with, and how sometimes there's that skewed opinion of, it's just text messages. She can just block it. She doesn't have to answer it. Then I'm like, oh, look, it's an erect penis. Oh, it's okay. But my diatribe was that it's sexual assault. It is sexual assault. Just because you feel it's not, it is, on top of other things. And, my concern is that sports is usually, even though everybody wants to say they're in the woke culture, and I just say that to be pedantic a little bit, but even though they say that they're progressive with people's, with situations like this is also the not the league, but sports that sometimes will be like speak, because I brought up like Big Ben as an example where he was dragging somebody into a bathroom, but hey, we're just going to suspend him for like 4 games as conduct. That's detrimental to the league. Different sports, but you get the same vibe. So, but tell us, D-May, as the people down in Miami tell me all the time when I lived there. Thank you for having time to be with us today, because
Oh
now
my God, my
I
pleasure.
your show changed me here.
All right then.
My pleasure, 100%. I'm sorry, today is like a super hectic day for me, and I never really know what my schedule's going to be like. And I really wanted to come do this with you guys, but I was like, oh, also I have something at 9. But I just wanted to make the time. But I can also come back another time if you guys will have me. So yeah, any questions, like ask away.
We love our guests.
All
Well,
right.
that's good because a lot of people have guests on just to like troll them, which I never really do.
No,
Really? No.
I'm
Yeah.
the guys call me the guest wrangler. I know that
Yes.
sounds a lot worse than it actually is, but so far everyone that I've brought on they seem to like. So I must have good taste.
Like, I don't want to call you the
I'm
bounty
honored.
hunter
I mean,
answer.
anytime I'm in the conversation, the same conversation as Jeremy, or on the same roster as Jeremy, I'm totally honored because he's one of my favorite people ever.
Oh. Okay.
So I guess we'll dive into it. I'll just give a quick preface of what happened. Today, the Baseball Writers Association of America, I got that right, hopefully, announced their lack of inductees to the Hall of Fame for 2021. It's the first time since 2013 that no one has been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they are hosting a ceremony in the summer to make up for last year.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, Andrew. I'll tell you this, everybody. They just didn't want to take away the spotlight from our Lord and Savior Derek Jeter, and from SpongeBob Lord Larry Walker. All right, give all of the
That
attention to them.
SpongeBob shirt was an all-time great fit. Not even for Hall of Fame like acceptance, just in general. I mean, again, I host a Nickelodeon podcast, so clearly SpongeBob. I think SpongeBob was like our
You're talking to the guy who watched the
maybe?
second SpongeBob movie that came out, and I generally enjoyed that one better than the first one.
Well, I haven't seen that yet, but
You should.
yeah,
should.
It was a really interesting cast of characters this year for the Hall of Fame, more than usual. And I was briefed on, kind of maybe not what I should or shouldn't say, but kind of like, try to keep it a little bit PC, maybe.
Well, Charles is. I was seeing what the guys were okay with, how far, but I mean, he was on point when Charles said that it's sexual assault. So basically, anything goes today. So
I mean, I call Jared
Oh,
Porter
damn,
a
all right.
predator, so yeah. So Jared Porter is a predator, so you can say whatever you want to say.
Cool. Okay, well, if that's the case, then like I am super freaking happy that Curt Schilling did not get in the Hall of Fame today, because quite frankly, anybody who uses their MLB paychecks to buy Nazi artifacts should jump off a cliff.
I was afraid because I was like, I told you, we talked about this last year when he didn't get in. I'm like, I feel like there's gonna be a contingent of people that are gonna find a way to get him in on his last time, like just as a punishment. Okay, you're gonna make it in your last ballot, and he didn't get in. And I'm like, yeah, 2020.
So next year's his last ballot.
Oh,
not
okay.
this year.
Regardless, 2021 has already done some good things.
Yeah, it's. I'm definitely very happy. I think also like Omar Vizquel, obviously, if we're talking about domestic violence, like that was also a really frustrating thing to see for both personal reasons and basic like morality reasons. Seeing people like that on the Hall of Fame ballot is just very frustrating to me. Mainly it comes down to like how, the character clause is a part of Hall of Fame voting, whether or not people want to acknowledge that because they want who they want to be in the hall. It doesn't change the fact that it does exist. And you see so many reporters nowadays who have the honor of casting their votes write these articles being like, here's why I voted for who I voted for. And it's like, dude, we get it. Just say you don't care about wife beating and leave. Like, I don't really at this point have patience for people who are going to look at every terrible thing that Curt Schilling has said over the last 7+ years since he's been retired and be like, yeah, but like his strikeout rate, at a certain point, it's like, where are we drawing the line? There, because it has to be somewhere. You can't, like, the bar has to be set somewhere. You have to have a moment where you go, okay, well, this guy has effectively, you want to talk about cancel culture, he canceled himself, and it's literally just a consequence for one's actions, or in this case, one's tweets.
Yeah.
Like, the guy had a podcast on Breitbart. He's talking about how journalists should be lynched. He's making fun of Muslims. He's making fun, making fun of trans people. It's like, how many more reasons do you need?
Yeah.
This guy,
if Curt Schilling,
he's out there saying that he doesn't care.
If Curt Schilling if he had been like any other baseball player and just disappeared until Cooperstown called and didn't do anything like that and wasn't that public and just made a crappy video game company that lost money, that was one of his endeavors. If he was just that, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But yeah, he shot himself several times in the foot. He doesn't even have a foot anymore. It's not even there. Yeah.
And on a personal note, and kind of going to what you were alluding to about lynching journalists, I mean, I'm disgusted by everything he does, but just on a personal note, I went to journalism school at UCF, and one of my professors and one of my classmates were in kind of a situation like that, where it was, I was told that we should lynch you. And that made me legitimately frightened for them, because I love them. My professor is one of the greatest people I know, and certainly my favorite professor ever. And a good friend of mine who was out covering a rally. It's one thing to hear it abroad, but it's another thing when it hits someone that you know and it becomes personal. So that way back when was the last straw for me, and everything since then has just been icing on the cake, if you want to phrase it like that.
Yeah, that's just cherry on top of cherry on top of cherry, basically, on top of the sundae that is Curt Schilling's terribleness.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm hoping that the 16 people that would have been needed to get him in this year, I hope that they stick to their guns and don't do it, because I would be greatly disappointed if he did get in. Although my question, he did tweet and say
I was gonna say, he says he wants to be removed from the ballot because, of course, his whole thing is, it's not me who's bad, it's the voters who, like, my favorite part of this whole thing was him tweeting, former players will be the ultimate judge, as it should be. I won't allow a group of morally bankrupt frauds another year to lie about my life. And I quote tweeted him and said, morally bankrupt frauds, says the man who collects Nazi artifacts and stole millions from the state of Rhode Island. Like, morally bankrupt frauds in glass houses should not throw stones. Like, dude, really? I mean, not to mention the fact that a lot of people who played with him during his playing days have said that he's, quite frankly, an asshole. So,
yeah.
At this point, do you really think that it's like saying that? I mean, the analogy I made on Twitter was buying a new car doesn't change the fact that you're a terrible driver. Like, we're not, like you're not. Nothing about you, Curt, has changed. You can peddle your Hall of Fame eligibility as much as you want, but, like, are you going to stop tweeting before next year's ballot? Highly doubtful.
And us being, well, I'm the lone non-lawyer of the three of us. We went to law school together, but I'm hoping to be joining you in April, guys. But our big thing is playing devil's advocate, because that's what lawyers do. So devil's advocate here. Although it comes to my attention that what's his name, Ty Cobb, may not have been as bad as everyone lets on, but I don't know. I'll have to do more research into that. But and I'm addressing this to you, Gabrielle, as well as you, Francisco and Charles. What do you say about? I'll use him as an example, Ty Cobb, but like I said, I'll do more research. Who is supposedly racist? Beat up a guy who was missing a hand. What do you say about letting those people in versus not letting them in now?
I think
Follow where I'm going with it.
I think okay. So let me try and give you an answer. I think it just depends on. It was the era that he was voted in. He was one of the initial guys to get into the Hall of Fame. So Major League Baseball is not going to, or not, well, the Baseball Hall of Fame is not going to touch that or start removing people for said reasons. But I think an emphasis will be made to not highlight said people because of that going forward in the future. I'm sure the Tigers, they have their statue and all that stuff out there at Comerica Park, but they won't be talking about that. But I think it's regards to I don't know if you can say it's the same as the steroid issue, where it's like it was part of the era. We have to acknowledge it. That was part of their era. We do acknowledge that happened, but they're in now, and they were in, and they have the statistical accolades, and we can look back on it and say, okay, them as a person probably wouldn't make it under the character criteria, but we have to look back on it to learn from history and go forward from here. And we're learning from history going forward from here because we're not letting guys like Kurt Schilling in. So there is progress that is happening, and you can see it now. And I would assume our generation, millennials and Gen Z going forward, will be the ones who will be making that judgment call from here on. I'm sure if this was 10 years ago, Kurt Schilling would be in. He would be in.
I have to agree. Absolutely. And I wrote about this in my Kurt Schilling piece today on girlatthegame.com, basically saying, there's definitely a conversation that can be had about removing bad apples from the Hall of Fame. But in the meantime, we shouldn't be adding more, and especially somebody at the level that Kurt Schilling is at. And the whole excuse, because I've gotten this excuse from so many people who are like, well, you're a Red Sox fan, you're a Red Sox podcaster, Red Sox writer. You should want him in there because he reversed the curse. And it's like, well, okay, but I'm a Jewish person first before I'm a Red Sox fan. So no, I don't. But the argument that I'll use, like you said, Ty Cobb is now a questionable figure, but Cap Anson is in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted in the first class, like over a decade after he died. He died in the 1920s. The first class was 1939. He was already gone, but he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. He is known as one of the most virulently racist people in the history of baseball. By all accounts, a terrible human being. Great baseball player, terrible human being. And if we say someone like Cap Anson is in the Hall of Fame, and therefore why can't we put Kurt Schilling in the Hall of Fame? Basically what we're saying is we have learned nothing in the 80 plus years since that first Hall of Fame class was inducted. In 1939, 8 years before Jackie Robinson joined the Dodgers, Hitler is invading Poland 2 months later. There's no polio vaccine. There's no man on the moon. FDR is president. Are we really okay with saying that we as a society have learned nothing, have gotten 0% better in the 80 plus years since Cap Anson was inducted in the Hall of Fame? Like, really? That's the hill we want to die on? That's the excuse you want to make? Our world should be better. Our technology is certainly better. Modern medicine is better. So why are we okay with using a tired argument that it's okay to be as racist as we were 80 plus years ago? That to me is a completely faulty argument. And I say this as the daughter of a lawyer. So, devil's advocate me all you want. Like, 100%, like I can do devil's advocate till the cows come home. But to me, it's a completely flawed argument. It has more holes in it than a piece of Swiss cheese.
You make good analogies. You would be a good lawyer.
Thank you. Yeah, not the first time someone said, "Are you sure you don't want to be a lawyer?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Don't go to law school.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
it's a lot of exactly.
Just
It's a
don't.
lot of law school that I don't want to do."
It's a Ponzi scheme. First off, first and foremost, as I'll just tell you now, you want to be a lawyer, go to business school. On the infrastructure, not going devil's advocate because everybody's kind of going there, but pointing out the big issues, and I'll keep it brief because I know I can talk a lot. One, a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff doesn't come up until way after it's all said and done. You might find out that these candidates are really just bad human beings after the fact. They might already be elected, right? They might already be inducted. So you have to always kind of keep there as seeing these moral clauses and the morality and the character of people might just give way to, because what do you want the sport to represent? If sports are eternal and every championship matters, the people should matter because they might live on in history. So do you want somebody who's going to advocate for insurrection? If you're going to have racists, people who beat up, you're going to have murderers too. I mean, O.J. Simpson isn't going to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. What if you have somebody who's in a similar situation in the MLB itself? I mean, I know I'm doing a very general statement, but you have to kind of look forward for the viability of your sport for perpetuity. And sometimes that comes into the decision making of who you wish to enshrine as the guy.
Charles, just to correct you, O.J. Simpson is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame
he?
and the College
I don't
Football
care
Hall of Fame.
about
Yeah, that was that was before what happened,
Okay,
right?
well, but then I'm gonna thank you for correcting me on that one. I'm gonna deviate it to there, but look at one sport and how they would treat it to another. So, and granted, maybe I made a misstatement. I called him murder, but he was not convicted as one. All right, I'll go from there. But there's a civil lawsuit that states that he is responsible for the death of his wife and everybody else. So forgive me for arrogance as a clerk order. Don't even strike it from the podcast because let me be humble in that sense. But you're gonna have situations where if you want your legacy to go into perpetuity as a sport, you always have to keep that option to reverse course and get people out there. And I think what happens is, even though Francisco made allusions that our generations might come into it, the people who are our predecessors are still going to probably be around at that time. And it's like walking in mud, man. So if everybody walks in mud, you're not going to get to your destination timely.
It's true.
And
Kurt Schilling got 71%.
Yeah, I mean, so realistically speaking, he might get into that committee, and it might be where it's just a flavor of the week, flavor of the month situation, sure. But what if he ends up getting it years from now in the follow up committee? Side note: I don't care for the Hall of Fame. One day I will give the full speech to it because I think it's just silly. But for sports and for people and for fan bases, it holds a lot to them, and I think they would just need something really catastrophic to kind of reverse that course. But I think the cynic side of me says all this can mean something, but I don't think anything's going to be done in any kind of remote time to really give us what we want to give a better idea of what that Hall of Fame should be, except for now you just raise it. Because for them, the writers and everybody else is going to say, hey, just make the qualifications harder. Instead of the 70-something, just make it to 80. But it's all good arguments, but I think it's all simple that, for that person, you should take into that character. You should take into that morality. And but unless you're going to really throw in the whole thing, like you can have your eligibility and you can have your inductedness. Is that a word? Maybe it is. I just created it. But you can have your enshrinement revoked from you if you don't act right. Because as a fan, I don't really care about the Hall of Fame. But if I was a player, maybe I do. Because that ego comes in, that drive, that killer instinct. Wow, they really let OJ be in the Hall of Fame? Like, I think I knew about college. I did not know the NFL.
Was he already in the Hall?
He was already.
Yeah,
he was already in. Yeah.
But you
So
don't
then,
think that?
then the real question is like, why didn't they take him out? Yeah, I hear you 100%. I mean, there's like the issue, of course, is where do we draw the line? And it's interesting because there was at least one voter who, after the January 6th Capitol attack, asked the Hall of Fame to remove Schilling from their ballot. Like they had a change of heart. And I'm not sure if the Hall actually removed that vote or not, but at least one writer, said that they didn't want to vote for Kurt Schilling anymore, which, was heartening to me, but also it's like, dude, really? Like it took him encouraging insurrection. That's what it took. Like, okay, cool. He's been terrible for like a decade now, but all right. I mean, I really think it's like a case by case basis, and I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, no two people are the same, and no two incidents are ever going to be the same. And as much as this sounds like a hippie, ridiculous thing to say, we have to cross that bridge when we come to it. I don't foresee Kurt Schilling, who is now complaining about how terrible the journalists and voters are. I don't foresee him stopping anytime soon. You know, it's like all these people who said like, oh, well, he only said these things after he retired. It's like, do you really think that in his mid 40s, he suddenly became a virulent racist and bigot? No, it's a part of him has always been this way. You don't just one day wake up and hate multiple groups of people. You don't one day wake up and decide, hey, I think I'm going to spend like $1 million on Nazi uniforms. That's not how people work, unless you have, God forbid, some kind of crazy, you know, you get hit in the head or something like in, you know, Freaky Friday and you're a completely different person. So in the future, you know, we have to just wait and see what happens, but bare minimum, no more adding terrible human beings to the Hall of Fame. And I mean, quite frankly, like Schilling didn't deserve to get in a couple years ago. I've been saying this for years now, but if this is where we're finally going to draw a line, at least we're finally drawing one.
Mm-hmm. Good points. Good points, everybody. I think we're a consensus agreement that we're all glad Kurt Schilling's not in.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
See, I told you guys she'd be a good guest.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm really not on my game tonight because I'm quite frankly exhausted. I've been working since like 10 a.m. And I'm not going to be done for a while. But if you guys want me to come back at a time when I'm like more sane and prepared, I would love to.
Definitely. Hey,
I'm going to be honest. Your not sane is more sane than some of us on some shows. So
I would say that she's probably still the more prepared person here than three of us were initiating everything. So.
Well, thank you for the compliment, but sadly for me, that's mostly because I have spent far too much time thinking about Kurt Schilling over the last 6+ years, and especially lately. So, unfortunately, it's just on my mind, and I wrote about it today. So,
somebody's got their speaker up too high because I can hear an echo.
It's not me. I got my headphones in.
Yeah, I got headphones in too. Who doesn't have headphones on? Come on now.
Andrew, you gotta get them jobber.
Yeah, we've been telling you, man. Drop that money.
Anyway, guys, I'm so sorry. I have to run, but thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on.
And
thank you so much for coming.
We will link
It's my pleasure.
people to your podcast, our podcast subscription, once I'm done editing it tonight.
Any Twitter handle?
I haven't posted mine either, so.
Any other social media stuff that we should know about Andrew for Gabrielle?
Well, I will. Let me
That's
see.
out.
Let me pull up her. It is at GFSTARR1 is her Twitter handle. Please go and follow her. She posts some really awesome stuff.
And and I also, I just went on our actual Twitter, and I also Girl at the Game, at Girl at the Game. That you just type that in, then there it is, and you'll follow her podcast that she also has. So there you go, everybody. Well, thank you, Andrew, for wrangling in another guest. So, gosh darn it, man, what is that?
It's my forte. If I bring anything to this of note to the show, it's the guest.
Gosh darn, I can't. What is it? Whose microphone is it? Because it's driving me crazy now. This is not going to be in the podcast version.
It's probably mine.
Do you have headphones in or no?
Hold on.
It's usually not a problem. I don't get what happened.
Side note, Freddie. Getting back to you here because I know we left him off on his sponsor.
Oh, non-sponsor. Yeah, Freddie, put that up there. We'll get it back there. We'll get it back. I might do some weird editing things tonight to kind of segue it nice and yeah. Is that your non-sponsor FC Fleo? Is that I'm not even sure.
I think
Andrew is gone.
FCF Wild Aces.
Fan controlled football. Power to the fans.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
I can hear you,
FC
Andrew.
Fleo.
How's it going?
Not bad. My computer is fried, so I switched over to the phone.
Okay. Yeah, you're much more faint now than ever, but at least I don't hear the echo, so that's good.
Oh wait, we need to come back. We forgot Freddy.
No, we that's what we were mentioning that already, so don't worry. Yeah, we can barely hear you now. You sound like you're in a very deep, dank cave. Oh, now you're a robot. Oh no! Oh God, no! No, if that's the case, we have to save him. If that's the case. All right,
All we have to do is just show him a
we'll
photograph.
go on a road trip, get some Jupiter donuts for the ride, for sure.
That's a true adventure. Charles and Francis.
By the way, I was working hard to get you that endorsement, Charles, over the last week.
I saw.
If
Very thankful.
on our Instagram, they picked up on us, and it was yeah. You should walk into their store and be like, "I'm Charles."
Yeah, I made you famous. We were already famous. I made you more famous.
So fan controlled football is Freddy's, and I think I've heard of this. I think I've seen some tweets about it on my own prior to this. But let me showcase this proposed professional football league. It's progressive snapshot badge. It's kind of like the other league that he also
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, a few weeks back now. I think that he also posted up there for us. Oh, they got. Oh, look at the people that they're working on. Look at Marshawn there. Oh, Marshawn was like, he was with Aliu, another hockey player, skating around. He actually wasn't that bad skating around. I don't know if that was his first time on ice skates, Marshawn Lynch, but he wasn't that bad. I was pretty surprised by that. So indoor football plus Twitch plays Pokemon. Is that holy crap? Is that what this league is? Indoor football plus Twitch plays Pokemon? If that's the case, this is gonna be insane. You know what Twitch plays Pokemon is, right, Charles?
No.
I will link you a video to that.
You gotta remember, I am in like a little pigeonhole of life. You vote for the plays. Oh,
yeah.
I'll just pull my best Jeff Fisher and be like Halfback Drive. There you go.
I honestly, this would be a pretty cool thing to do. Like we could go all in on one team and be like, yeah, guys, and see if the Goofs will take a team to the championship or not.
What would we name our mascot?
Well, they already have teams here. They have, of course, Marshawn is the Beast. That makes sense. That makes sense there. The Glacier Boys. I like that name.
I really feel like they need Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat.
Out of all of the ones, you got the Zappers, you got the Wild Aces, Beasts, but it makes sense for Marshawn. But the Glacier Boys, I'm all about that name right there. That's a good one. Oh man, I'm for the Glacier Boys with a Z. I don't care. It's co-owner Richard Sherman. There you go, and Destroying.
Oh no, I hate that team already.
Love it, Andrew. You're still faint, buddy.
Yeah, look at Marshawn and Miro and Renee Montgomery, Bob Menery, Trevor May for the Zappers, and Wild Aces Greg Miller.
Wait. Miro, the wrestler, formerly known as Rusev. That's right. Wrestling comes all together because Miro is a huge.
Either we all go in on one team or we all choose one team. Can't choose the same one, and see who comes out on top.
Well, I'm picking Marshawn and Miro because
I gotta pick the Glacier Boys because I'm just all about that name.
It's okay.
I like Richard Sherman too.
I can't support that team because Donald Delahaye, aka Destroying, he's not a terrible person. Kurt Schilling is a terrible person. Destroying is.
Andrew, you sound like you're in a cave right now, dude. I can hear you. I can hear you just faintly.
Can you hear me better?
Slightly? Not even
No.
sure now. Slightly?
I'm trying to work on it.
Okay.
We're called Sports Goofs for a reason. There's always a goof moment.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me make sure a reminder. Hey Siri. Remind me tomorrow to pick a fan-controlled football team. I'm really all about this. If it's like Twitch plays Pokemon, I'm sure it won't be that insanity where like everybody's like picking the worst play possible, just punting on 1st and 10 immediately. Like I doubt it's going to be anything that crazy, but I want to see how this is going to work out. First games are on February 13th. Okay, so we have some time to plan this out, and it's on Twitch. Okay. Might do a watch party. That'd be a good watch party type of ordeal there. Yeah. Thanks, Freddie. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. For sure. I like
It
this.
brings apart all our favorite people.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew, are you back? Like, no, he's not back. He's gone.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, he's back.
All right.
No echo either.
Yeah, I can't support Donald's team destroying. The TLDR is he sued UCF for rescinding his scholarship, even though they did the best they could to help him save his YouTube career, but he just ungrateful little prick.
Oh boy.
So no, I can't support.
That was a passionate prick sound from Andrew. Wow. Okay, man, that man loves his UCF. He's like a mother hen. No, do mother hens defend their young like that? No, mother bear. Let's go with the mother bear.
I mean, seriously though, he was coming up against an NCAA regulation.
I remember. We talked about this too. We were all on his side. So
we did our best. I say we, but the athletics compliance, they did their best to help him. They got him the best possible deal.
Johnny Manziel's in this? Oh, okay.
Well, Johnny would be in like football porn if he could. The guy just wants to get back into the game.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still debating who I want my FCF team to be.
Okay, do you have to pay for this or?
I think it's free.
Okay, if we have to pay for it, I'm not. I think they're probably just trying to get a lot of people to watch, and then they'll get advertisers from there. I would assume that's the goal here, and of course they give a shot to some fringe guys out there, guys who can't make it in the NFL nor the CFL or whatever, you know. Okay, well. I think we're running a little long here, boys. So some of the segments I can roll them over to next week. That's fine.
We have to get to our most important one, though.
Yeah, let's head on over to the cage with Charles. Again, let me get the graphic for you ready. Hold on. Give me a second, Charles. Let me find that.
Where is Andrew, it? I just tweeted you a burn that I need to send out because Gabrielle burned Roger Clemens so hard that I felt it in my soul. So in regards to players who couldn't make it into the league, I put a lot of UCF players. I'm sorry, I love you, but I have to do it for the comedy.
You're good to go, Charles. Let's do it.
Welcome, everybody. Your weekly Truplex, The Cage with Charles. Now, we know the introductions, but it's 2021. New year, new me, right? Let's put it out there. Wrestling is not fake. It is scripted. It is a stage fight. It's a stage brawl. It is man and women chasing championships, titles, whether it be singles or tag teams. It's blood feuds. People want to beat the holy hell out of each other. And it's also about trying to make a name for yourself, trying to have your legacy, trying to have your enshrinement. But the world of wrestling, sometimes you be a bigot, you be this, you be that, and people will let it bypass you. Looking at you, Hulk Hogan, not too crazy about you. Looking at you, Goldberg, even though Goldberg's actually not big, he's just old, and I don't want to be Drew McIntyre, but things like that happen. And sometimes it's really about one thing, fellas: money. Big, fat wads of green in your pockets. And what you can do with that money: hire new talent, bring back old talent, have special guest stars. Hell, Donald Trump's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Look how we're talking about the Hall of Fame, how it's all useless.
Yeah.
Bam, got you all. NFL, MLB, now WWE, suck it, DX style. Political views aside, humor, satire aside, WWE's made some cash, man. And I'm gonna start with it. I'm gonna split apart from to other parts of WWE, but they recently were able to get NBC, who owns Peacock, to get a deal where their content on the WWE network for 5 years, $1 billion. Holy crap. And here's the craziest thing, because I'm looking at these details like crazy, because I can say pandemic, right? We don't get striked if I say pandemic.
Nah, it doesn't matter. And
right.
YouTube's already suspended us. I don't care no more. I don't care.
Well, they can also have a DX suck it too.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic first hit about a year ago, close to a year ago, WWE and Vince made all these measures to save as much money as possible, so they are not affected by any of the pandemic-related incidences that might cause a loss of revenue. If you remember, not necessarily a year prior, but several months prior, because we've been doing the show so long that they bring it together. They had signed a $1 billion deal with Fox to broadcast their content on SmackDown and some other, not pay-per-views, but reruns. And also they had the Talking Smack show. And then ESPN, they had some, because when the pandemic hit, they needed something. No one wants to watch Stephen A 24/7, right? I wouldn't. I'd rather deal with Kurt Schilling for 24/7. I don't want that person living in my head, right? Over bad.
Yeah.
Well, I actually don't like Stephen A. I just think that sometimes he has to ham it up, and he hams up too much like an actor.
Different spectrums, I would say.
Vastly different spectrums. Yeah. Kurt Schilling, we just don't like it. So they had so money. So coming into it, I'm like, man, Vince is doing everything, and we don't know what's going on with wrestling when the pandemic first started. We knew sports was going to be greatly affected, and that's why NBA brushed a lot of policies to the bubble and even to the season, because they need money like a lifeblood. MLB can't necessarily take something that could affect them because they're on the outs, they're on the ropes. So Vince was making his deals, and NBC, we alluded to it earlier, where they getting rid of the sports network. They're streaming over to the Peacock, and they said, "Hey, you're already on Universal. You have we broadcast Raw, we broadcast NXT. Let's buy it." And when details first broke, I was like, "Oh man, they're buying the network?" No, guys, they're just renting out the content, because once the 5 years are done, it could be another negotiation, or Vince can go back to having the network on his own right. So you still get to keep your property. He's
licensing it out.
Yeah, it's the most brilliant move I've ever seen, because it's always going to have new content. It's going to have content in case WWE will thrive as a business in case the event that Vince dies, and there have been concerns about who the true successor is, because even though it's publicly traded as a business, it's like a modicum of money compared to some of the other stuff. And people think that Triple H, even though I like Triple H, Paul Levickis, who is the COO, they think it's going to go to Shane, who actually ran a business, overseas. I think he did some startup companies, and then other people that you bring in, you have a brain trust because it's about legacy. But $1 billion ain't no joke for a guy that. And I remember when the pandemic and the cuts hit, I said, listen, it makes sense. I don't like it, but you have to do everything to preserve. Look what he did. He brought in 5 years worth of guaranteed money. And what it does is NXT, it gets a renewal, right? It doesn't get because if it gets canceled, then, it's one thing, you lose out. You have to go back to putting NXT onto the network or whatever. Raw, it puts a lot of safeguards. Maybe it also creates the interest in SmackDown, which is currently owned by Fox. So when that licensing expires in about 4 years and the content on Peacock is good, what if NBC wants the whole shebang? It's ridiculous, and you still get to own the content. Because the way I looked at it, and I really looked at the specifics, the WWE Network, I don't know if I'm getting grandfathered in or not, but from what I read is that you can either get the WWE stuff for $5 with the ads, hate that, or because wrestling shouldn't have ads on the pay-per-views, it's just terrible, it really kills the flow. Pay-per-views are too long anyway. Or you can get the ad-free version of it for $10. I already pay $10 a month. I've done the WWE Network as a non-sponsor for $9.99 a month for thousands of hours of content for a wrestling purist is just ridiculous. It's going to be good for a casual fan as well to have, because I'm always at least watching the pay-per-views, the new ones. I'm watching Royal Rumble this weekend. Do I watch some of the old stuff? Sometimes. It really depends on what I want to do, because I've seen some. Maybe I should just do wrestling show blogs. This gives me ideas of what we can do for the website. Read our blogs, read our stuff, guys. Go visit our website. But watching some of those 90s pay-per-views is trash. But then I'll watch stuff like Magnum TA versus Tully Blanchard and the best I Quit match I've ever seen. So it's just a wealth of content. And you're telling me that I'm not going to get a price like, and you might with Peacock, who knows? Because everything always raises in price. Netflix is the original model, because the new content that you wanted raised the price. And everybody says Netflix is too expensive. I'm like, I don't really think $14 is expensive, and that's not even necessarily because of my income. Like, it's not bad. It's just I remember the days when it was cheaper. But with everything, when you have greater demands, and you have a need, and you have competition, you have to do something to get more revenue in there, especially since they're financing their own shows. But you look at Hulu, they do the ad stuff for $6, and then you can just pay for ad free or just get the bundles and all that other stuff. But for me, I'm still going to stay in because I'm not going to get affected by the price. And I don't necessarily watch a lot of television anymore, you guys. It's weird. At 31, I don't have like a show I must watch. I get into the movie things. Like right now, I'm watching the Harley Quinn show on HBO Max. You guys should watch it. It's hysterical, especially if you like satire and superheroes and some good character growth. But mind you, I already own The Office and stuff like that. But I can get, maybe if I get new Peacock exclusives, Elliot Stabler from Law and Order SVU, that he's supposed to get his own spinoff. Maybe if I just want to watch movies that they're putting in there, or just making Peacock exclusives, I'm game for anything. So you're telling me I get my wrestling and I get all that for that price? It's great for me. What I think the bigger plan is, I think I talked to you guys or to my friend, is that you're going to have whether it's a casual or a diehard, they're always going to kind of go there, at least watch the pay-per-view. But is this going to influence people to build into something, to a new fan base? Because USA, it's hard to get new viewers for Raw, because what's it usually against Monday? Monday Night Football, basketball. When it was election time, they were losing out. So now you might get people who are just bored. And this pandemic's going to go the way things are. I would at least cap it out to the end of the year fully, vaccines or no vaccines, because sports are still going to kind of get into it, the form of entertainment. Because you guys got to remember, when it comes to oversaturation of entertainment, yeah, it's there, but people always want more, because you're not necessarily getting new television shows anymore, right? These are things that have been pre-filmed, but there's a lot of delays in TV shows. Like, you want to watch Grey's Anatomy, that's great, but one actor gets it, and it can happen. How many times has the Batman movie been delayed? I just want to see my own version of the Long Halloween. Charles is a big nerd for that stuff. Robert Pattinson
got Battinson, baby.
He got sick, and then it closed down. This movie was supposed to be out in Halloween or June, and now it's going to be like 2025. I'm probably not even alive anymore. I don't get to see that. So wrestling, no matter what, is always going to have the new content. It is probably the only thing that was at the news that gave you something week for week that wasn't canceled. So it's going to get those people, right? Maybe you don't get them for the full 3 hours. Maybe you don't get everything. But for people, when they say, oh, I can do Peacock, and then they also have the sports stuff, so maybe I'll watch wrestling. Because what do we remember in our generation? We remember the 90s. We remember the Attitude Era. We remember the the First Blood matches, the Inferno matches, the bra and panty matches. I can watch all that stuff. And I can watch the new stuff, which doesn't degrade women all the time, Vince. Looking at you. Shit that you used to do. You get some actually good wrestlers out there. I get to go watch NXT, which your boy loves, in that sense. And then I can go back and maybe harken to those 70s. Maybe I can see Ric Flair in his prime. Maybe I could see Hulkamania run wild, because I'm a 31-year-old man and I wasn't necessarily, in front of that TV at like 5 years old, right? Maybe I can see the Steiner Brothers, the Road Warriors, Dusty Rhodes kicking up. As a person, I think that's what they're going to have. You're going to get existing Peacock members, because what's the thing about being a platform for any kind of streaming stuff? You want them to join, and you want to give them a reason to stay. And right now, all we're doing is just pressing the button on next. And how many times have we watched Netflix, you guys, and we just don't know what to watch? Netflix had to put in a whole maybe suggest thing, right?
Look how many Japanese shows they posted up there. Now I'm watching it. It.
So it's roulette, but imagine you do that with sports entertainment, something like that. In addition to maybe I get hockey, it's win for me, because I already had this discussion. I never canceled it, even when I hated what Vince was doing on the pay-per-views. And there's times where I missed out on some pay-per-views. Yeah, I think for 2020 I missed out on 2 of them, but they were just like throwaway pay-per-views. But I would still watch that. There will at least be once a month I watch it because of the NXT content. But maybe this will give new subscribers coming there, because what's going to happen is for NBC, it's going to say, or Universal is what I'll call them, because that is really the overlords coming into it. Comcast, Universal. What happens is you have to understand, if they could just get that $5 from you or that $10 of you, even if it's one time, that's still $10 in that pocket. And you know what's going to happen? They're not going to say, "Oh, did you watch it for the WWE?" They're going to say, when they talk to your friends and people around you, say, "Yeah, I liked it, but it wasn't really my cup of tea." It's going to encourage people to do it. So that organization, that corporation is just going to love the fact that they're making the $5 that one time. Because you know why, guys? If I get 100 people and they put the $5 or the $10, that's, don't make me do math, please. $500,000 come into it on a daily basis. And what happens is you might cancel, you might redo it. Like, I have CBS All Access. I don't care about Star Trek. Sorry, Andrew. Never can get into it. I was a Star Wars guy because I like simplified storyline. Unless you watch a J.J. Abrams movie, don't get me started. But for the people who don't watch Star Trek, whatever, I watch CBS All Access for football and college basketball and college football. And when it's around June, I cancel it. But I come back in September. So you're not maybe just getting 10 times. So in the WWE, you have 4 big pay-per-views. Money in the Bank's not there yet, but it will be. So even from the selling point of what I would do is saying, "Oh, hey, Royal Rumble's coming up next week. You should get it." That's $5 to $10, because I don't think Peacock's going to do a free trial, because they already have a free version of it. So why would you just waste it, right? That's stupid to me. Don't do free trials if you're already doing a free form of it. Makes no sense. You're not going to bring in new people, because if you already go free form and they say, "Hey, I want that," you're like, I should just pay the $5 and go from there, because there's going to be people who say, "Oh, it's just it's the price of chalupa. Let's just go order this thing." Chalupa's a great though. Let's not attack Taco Bell, because I'd pick Taco Bell over a $5 trial run of anything any day. But the selling points: "Oh, hey, there's a Royal Rumble. Oh, hey, there's WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam." And that alone could be $50 per each individual on the million people masses, because that one-time view, the multiple time views, you might want to watch the build-up. Screw with YouTube a little bit. Limit the copyrights of what you'll post on there as WWE, and say, "Oh, you want to see more of this interview? Go watch on Peacock. You want to see the backstage promos, vignettes, stuff that mattered so much in the cable industry to get you set up for a feud. Put them on Peacock, because that's what people might want to see." Right?
Yeah.
Or even better, I don't want to TiVo SmackDown. I don't want to TiVo Raw. Raw's too long. It's 3 hours, you guys. And then there's Peacock saying, "Hey, we have the abridged commercial-free one."
So that's what I was thinking. You can have like a series, like, okay, here's blah 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 bit. They do that for Dragon Ball Z on YouTube. So people fans who've done that.
It really just it's win-win for the viewer. It's win-win for Vince. Is it win-win for Universal? I don't know. But here's the thing. Even Apple, who makes like terrible TV shows, is putting it out there. So if they're doing it, you got to do it. So that's my bit on that. Transitioning it back into wrestling before I go back into WWE. New Japan, they had the New Beginnings on the 30th, January 30th, the day before Royal Rumble. Only headline match I'm looking into is Hiroshi Tanahashi's challenging Shingo Takagi for the Never Openweight. Guys, I've been watching a lot of New Japan stuff lately. Not like the full matches, but I've just been watching like weird startups, like the G1 Climax matches. I was watching Jeff Cobb versus John Moxley in their qualifier. I was watching my boy Minoru Suzuki, the King, slapping the hell out of Timmy Thatcher in a independent program, and it was just muy fantastico. I was a big fan of it. Coming into all that stuff, I'm hoping Shingo and Hiroshi have a great match. I don't want Hiroshi to win, even though I respect the ace. I have reservations about the Never Openweight title, because the way it goes into is right now it's your second strongest belt. Because what's the problem? The IGWP title, or IWGP Heavyweight Championship and Intercontinental title are on the same person with Kota Ibushi, because they're the double belts. So then they need a proper secondary title. So that would be Never Openweight title. John Moxley has the U.S. title, but he hasn't been able to go to New Japan because of the pandemic, and because I think AEW and New Japan have a little bit of an issue with licensing rights. So they're really hyping it up. But Tanahashi's kind of seen it all done now. He's been a vet for I want to say 14 years. I don't know how many titles he's won. I can't give you the full numbers. It's a pain in the butt to research this stuff, guys, because I know, what bothers me about research, I think you both can agree with me. You feel your age because stuff that you remember the other day, a year ago, several years ago that came out like lightning. Dude, like you try to remember, like, I gotta Wikipedia this. I used to know this stat. Now it bothers me. I expect a great match coming into it. If it's actually good, I'll send you guys a YouTube clip so I can educate you on the better of New Japan's. AEW, we're getting there. It's a slow start right now, kind of building into it. They're still doing the cross brands of TNA Impact. I know it's Impact, but I call it TNA Impact because that's what we really remember it as. And versus AEW, there should be there's a main event of Dynamite. I think it's going to be the Dark Order going against the Good Brothers from Impact and the Young Bucks, who are your AEW tag team championships. Expect some, weird stuff going on there where there's going to be some continuing feuds because it's going to lead to the Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers at a pay-per-view. They trademarked I believe a pay-per-view called Battle of the Belts. So maybe that's going to lead to some unified titles. You know my opinion on it if you listened to the show last week. I'm not crazy about it because I think it's going to stifle some storylines. I think it's going to hide back some of the guys who need more seasoning in matches and also hide away the stars from the television show. Because if I'm Impact, I wouldn't want to send anybody who's not who needs the views more, AEW or Impact. It's Impact. They have their own Twitch channel so people can watch. They have to go on Pluto TV. They don't have the sponsorship from TNT, man. So they're going to want to send you the best of their best. So I don't know if it really even benefits AEW because AEW has only been in business for a year plus. You don't need these dream matches from another brand and organization. You want to have your own stars to build and quality and give you quality matches and give you quality promos. So I don't know if it's the full win thing or if it's just going to muddle the farm. Back to WWE because I won't talk about Ring of Honor or anything like that right now. They're not doing anything for me that tickles my fancy. The Royal Rumble's this week, guys. I'm going to watch it. As we know about the Royal Rumble, 30 men, 30 women enter because there's going to be a men's Royal Rumble, women's Royal Rumble. Winner, last person standing, after everybody's been thrown over the top rope, gets a guaranteed title shot at WrestleMania. No guarantees at the main event anymore. And I kind of miss that. I kind of wish that they have it, but what happens is normally part-timers are the ones who've been closing it lately. Last year, it was Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar in a very brief match. That ended, even though people don't like Brock because he's a part-timer, I love me some Brock. But then there was a couple of years where it was Taker and Roman Reigns, where Roman won over Taker, and that wasn't even a Royal Rumble victory right there. That was just a feud that they built from the Royal Rumble. But the Royal Rumble is always good to kind of build feuds. Last year, what do we know? We had Edge's return, and he eliminated Randy Orton. What did that give us? Probably the best feud of 2020 coming into. Guess what? Edge is back. He declared for the Royal Rumble. If there was a fans going to be there, I would not have announced this thing. I would let it be another big, oh my God, he's back. But yes, Andrew, he was literally injured. He had a triceps injury, so he was out for several months. But he's back in. He could be a dark horse because I can't really give you full predictions of who I think is going to win. And that bothers me because Vince has kind of done this stop, forceful pushing kind of some wrestlers and let it happen organically. But I think he's really doing it, such as Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, but I think he's doing it just for the Elimination Chamber that's coming next month. So I don't know who's being force-fed down my mouth, and I've been trying to create this list, an idea of who I came to. Last week we talked about it, where I think we're going to get either Keith Lee who wins, and he's been on Raw, and I don't like how he's been pushed, even though he had a WWE Championship match against Drew McIntyre. I don't like the character they've done for him because I felt like he hasn't really beaten anybody big. So if he wins, I think he'll probably go and fight Roman because they have a little bit of history together when they squared up at Survivor Series. Not last year, but the year prior, because I have to remember that we're in 2021 now, not 2020 when I make my references. The other people it could be Daniel Bryan, but I feel like that's so on the nose because even though he's saying, yes, I'm the best challenger, I can beat Roman Reigns, he doesn't really need to win the Royal Rumble per se for his legacy. I know he's winding down. If he just wants to challenge Roman Reigns, just let him challenge Roman Reigns. That's what the Elimination Chamber is there for, to build that building blocks. They're going to bring back, I think, Fastlane, or he could just challenge him at Mania, and then you can have Roman absolutely wreck him. Because I would love that heat that comes in there. But it could be Bryan, it could be Lee, it could be Edge as a dark horse. What I'm really looking forward to with the Rumble, though, is Randy Orton. Bless you, I think if someone's sneezing in the background. Randy Orton, the Fiend, because Randy Orton, there's been some side stories, him and Fiend, he lit the Fiend on fire at TLC. Alexa Bliss lit his face on fire, Randy Orton's face on fire, and he was going this whole like I'm a monster now. But Raw ended last night where she was challenging Asuka for the women's championship, about to win, and Randy came out of nowhere and RKO'd her. Now I'm not big on men and women intergender wrestling or the violence, but damn, is it good for the storyline? Because what happens is the Fiend, this monster, and Alexa, this mistress of the monster, as I'll call her, has been kind of having a bit of a change. They're no longer the bad guys. Now they become like the anti-heroes. And it's all because of Randy Orton and his stupid punchable face. And it's all because of Randy Orton and his stupid punchable face. And I love it. I love what Randy is doing. He gave me a fantastic feud with him and Edge last year for Edge's re-entry into the wrestling world after being gone for so many years, and he's just bringing it back again. Some people like the promos, some people don't. I absolutely love it because it's long-term storytelling, because this is going to lead to WrestleMania. It's a long feud. Maybe you can have Randy like disappear for a bit, but you got to remember, Charles loves the long play storytelling, because about 3 or 4 WrestleManias ago, Bray lost his WWE Championship to Randy Orton, a Royal Rumble winner. So Randy declared for the Royal Rumble last week, and what's going to happen? We don't know about The Fiend. He was burned alive, but what are we getting? Randy's going to be in like the final 5, and then we're going to get the red lights, and The Fiend's going to come out of nowhere and eliminate him and cost him and screw him over. And I am just tingly in my sensations for that, boys. The true senses is kicking. It's great. Women's Royal Rumble, because we were talking about it. The only person that I logically think that can win this that isn't returning, because Becky Lynch ain't coming back. She just had the kid in December. She's not in shape. She probably wants to be with her child. I think it's going to be Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley was the NXT champion last year, because remember, they were having the not cross promotions, but they were trying to hype up NXT a little bit. They were introducing, that was really the only thing that was introduced at their WrestleMania, and Charlotte beat her at WrestleMania. And I think what they're going to do is Rhea has nothing really going on anymore in NXT. She's 23. She's been NXT Women's Champion in the NXT UK brand and the NXT Women's Champion there. Call her up, have her win the Royal Rumble. Have Asuka, and I love me some Asuka, but Vince is never going to book her right, so it's just terrible. Have Charlotte once again win, and I hate it because this will make Charlotte like a third. She's the John Cena of women's champions, and they just got to give Charlotte a new character. I can't deal with this queen thing now. She calls herself Miss WrestleMania. I'm like, no one's called you that. Get over it. Come on. And it's not her. It's the writers. It's creative, because Vince ruins everything I like. But have Rhea win, have Rhea challenge Charlotte at Mania, and have her take that title. Oh, boys. Oof. Oh, it's just so good. It's basically, to me, it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Anakin Skywalker, Revenge of the Sith, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Vader in New Hope. And yes, I understand Anakin was already Vader in Revenge of the Sith, but he wasn't really fully transformed yet. Come on, we both know this. But those are kind of my predictions, and that's where I leave it at the Royal Rumble. There's other titles going on. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, Part 3. In this last couple months, technically be Part 4. In a last man standing match. We know Owens is going to lose, but what I loved about the build is that they make you feel that he actually has a shot at winning. But Roman, that tribal chief's going to have that title for a long time. Well deserved. Drew McIntyre versus Goldberg. I really don't care. That's what it is. Goldberg can take it. Goldberg can beat it. That's fine, because I'm kind of done with Drew's character. And I like Drew. It's just the guy has held the championship if he won his championship in April at WrestleMania, he's had the title for 11 months almost. And yet can't really put the belt on anybody that long unless you have actual competitors. But here's my theory, because I know I told you I think it was going to be Keith Lee or Daniel Bryan, but who did Drew wrestle in November? A certain Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, battle of the brands going at it. But they can't challenge for each other's respective titles. And what happened in the match? You say, well, Jey Uso interfered a little bit. Roman low blow Drew and choked him out of the guillotine. What if, because they have history, they wrestled at WrestleMania about 2 years ago when Roman came back from his cancer fight. What if we just have Drew lose to Goldberg? Hear me out. I know it sounds terrible. Charles, you're advocating for Goldberg to win. Well, you got to lose the battle sometimes, but you can still win the war. Let Goldberg win. Keith Lee could beat Goldberg. Everybody would love it. It'd be fantastic. The same way how I felt about Braun Strowman beating Goldberg in the last-minute matchup in Mania, because I just want that title off of Goldberg. But you let Drew lose to Goldberg. Let him come into the Rumble. When the Rumble, say, I'm coming for you, Roman. Because this whole time, I'm like, there's not a single person on SmackDown that I believe that can beat Roman. He technically should be Owens, but Vince won't pull that trigger, man. Because Owens could be your new Austin, really, if you book it right. They've been booking him excellently, but it's not going to happen. But if you have Drew from Raw, Go over on SmackDown. That's your guy. That's your dude. Yes, Raw might lose another guy in the main event that actually has been carrying that brand on his back unsuccessfully because Raw's ratings are still low. They plopped in at 1.8 million, whereas SmackDown's pulling an average 22.2, 2.3 million over on Fox. But those ratings are going to get better because why? Fox has the money, man. That's where it matters most with Vince. Raw is a dying ship. It will revive itself. It will be okay. It will resuscitate. But if you really want Roman to lose it and you want to make it convincing, sit down, Brian, put Drew McIntyre. Whether or not Drew wins that title is up to Vince. I still think Roman should hold it because he can hold that belt to SummerSlam because there's more challengers that could build from that. That's my sneaky suspicion. Be on the lookout for that. That's all I got for you guys in this weekly Truplex of Mine in the Cage.
Okay. All right, boys. I think that is it for us. I'd like to thank Gabrielle Starr for popping onto the show. Thank you, Andrew, for being able to get her to pop on here. We will see you guys next week for number 91. I've got nothing else to say. So be on the lookout for this version of the show on the podcast wave so you can listen to it on the go. Probably, I'll have it finished by tonight. Sometime tonight. I don't know. I'll be up late. Anyways, you won't even hear that in the podcast version. I guarantee it. I'm out, boys. See ya.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.